What is up, ladies and gentlemen? I got a cool one today. So I'm having on fellow Atlas Gunworks teammate Jacob Hepner, who is one of the most incredible athletes I've ever seen. He is a tactical games athlete now, also a CrossFit games athlete. He's done some boxing. He's done a little bit of everything, which we're going to get into a lot of that. But he is a freak athlete, to say the least. So he's going to be, and he's a cool guy. So this is going to be a super fun one. He should be getting on here any minute. And we will get rolling. But thank you for listening. What's up, dude?
You were like, hey,
yeah, I can hear you just fine,
wear
man.
AirPods because you might hear other people, but I'm just in my car by myself, so we'll make it work.
No, you're good, bud. Yeah, nobody really has corded headphones except for me. I get made fun of it a lot.
So tangled up, you literally can't put them on your head. They tend to just get tangled up at some point.
Yep, I feel you. Yeah, I do the same thing. I go to pick them up to use them, and they're all crinkled up. It takes me 5 minutes to untangle the damn things.
Like not tangled, and they come in your pockets 2 seconds later, and they're like somehow they're just like knotted up.
Well, man, for those who don't know, if you're living under a rock, Jacob Hepner, you do a lot. I mean,
hey, a question. Does this podcast, when I go live with you, because I've never done an Instagram live, not going to lie, does it go live on my account also? Okay, cool. Sweet. All right. Just want to make sure.
Yes. Yeah, so it goes live on both of our accounts, and then when we're done with the podcast tonight, it'll go on all the podcast platforms, and then it'll also go on YouTube. But sometimes YouTube takes 19 hours to upload a video, so
you're supposed to say it goes wherever you devour all your podcasts, whether it be Spotify or whatever you use.
Yeah, right. But for those who don't know, man, just introduce yourself. Tell us kind of how you got into the crazy life you live now.
If you would obviously define me, I'm obviously a CrossFitter. That's how I had defined myself for at least 7 to 9 years of my life. I grew up in the state of California, actually, the land of fruits and nuts, what I usually call it. Moved out of there during the middle of high school with my family. Moved into southern Missouri and went to finish up high school there, and then also went to college there. Played collegiate football in college. I was awful at it. I was a great bench warmer, and I definitely brought the GPA up on the team and tutored a lot of the guys. And then found CrossFit in the middle of college. And really figured out that's what I was meant to do, because it didn't require a whole lot of athleticism. It required just a lot of just grunt work and being able to put your head down. There's some athleticism, but not like throwing or catching a ball. And
I think if you're talking about just your everyday Joe going to a CrossFit gym, yes, you don't have to be ridiculously athletic. But I think to compete in the CrossFit games and be a professional world elite CrossFitter, which I think you're too humble to call yourself, yeah, you got to be a freak athlete. I think you're underselling yourself just a tad.
There's a lot of the athleticism and requirements for football was harder for me than it was for put your head down, learn how to snatch, learn positioning for a barbell for the CrossFit side of things. To me, that was the easiest thing in the world. But learning how to read a receiver's hips or break on a ball or catch a ball or even throw a ball for me was a little bit more difficult than the things in the CrossFit space. So, yeah. So anyways, found CrossFit out of college, determined this is what I'm doing the rest of my life, or as long as my body, God willing, to let me do it, and competed in CrossFit from 2013 to 2020, and then decided to stop competing there, and then kind of rolled right into the tactical games, and so here we are.
Hell yeah, man! So you did really, really well in CrossFit, in the CrossFit games and the CrossFit industry. What drove you to get into tactical games?
So in 2017, I didn't qualify for, I actually pulled out. For those of you that don't know how CrossFit works, we all start in the open. Everyone competes in the open at the same time. Essentially think of like the guys who are drafted to go to the NFL, think if we all did the combine because we all love football. And then from there, the people who are the best would go into the NFL. very similar to CrossFit, and that's why the community is so great in that sport. And so had to pull out of the open because of a knee injury. I had bursitis in my knee, and decided, okay, well, I've got a whole season, a whole freaking year that I need to find something to do because I have all this fitness. And so I tried a couple different things during that year, but one of them was, I was like, hey, I grew up shooting. Now, to clarify, growing up shooting and hunting is completely different than competing with shooting. And so I grew up shooting and decided, hey, I should practice my pistol and just shoot. Like, that's enjoyable to me. So I had 10 acres of land that we sold a while ago, but down the road from here. And so I put a really cheap range up with railroad ties and some dirt. And then quickly determined that, like all CrossFitters do, how can I make something into CrossFit? And so I started adding fitness to it, right? I was like, man, shooting's fun, standing still, but you know what's more fun? Doing CrossFit and shooting, just doing some kind of functional movement and shooting. And so I started adding that, and just as a joke, added the hashtag fitness and firearms, fitness and firearms, and hashtagged everything I did that way. Put a lot of videos up on YouTube. You can actually go still watch them. That's assuming that YouTube hasn't banned it. My mom is watching right now, I just saw, so I'm gonna have to hold back on my swear word. I'm just kidding. I don't do subtle swear anyways. Anyway, so kind of added CrossFit to it. And then someone kept tagging me and saying, yo, you should look into this thing called the Tactical Games. And at first I was like, I don't know what that is. And Googled it and realized, hey, it's essentially what I'm doing to a degree, where I'm taking functional movements or stress shooting and making it into a sport. And I thought, that's super cool. Good for them. But at the time I'm thinking, I'm not trying it. Like, I'm a CrossFitter. That's what I do. That's my career. That's how I make money. And so I decided, put in the back of my brain, and said, hey, when I decide to stop competing in CrossFit, whenever that happens, I should look into this. I like shooting. I'm obviously very good at fitness. I should try it when I'm done. And so when I decided to stop competing in 2020, at the end of the 2020 season, I decided, okay, 2021, I will go try the Tactical Games. And so we're coming up on a year pretty much that I've actually competed in the Tactical Games. So
That's awesome, man. We're gonna get to the Tactical Games pretty quick, but I want to talk about your CrossFit background, because so I was also a collegiate athlete.
You probably started.
I felt I was
way to rub it in my face.
No. So I very quickly was injured. Ended my football season and ended up ending my football career. But I felt that came easy to me. I've been to a couple CrossFit classes. That shit's hard, okay? And the problem I have is I don't like losing. So I see the other guys going super freaking hard and doing all this crazy stuff with heavy weight. And I was like, oh, dude, I got this. I can do it. If they can do it, I can do it. And after the third time I threw up, I realized, okay, this is a different animal. I don't know how to feel about this. I'm going to go back and start doing my other workouts. And I kind of girled out on it a little bit. But I watch the CrossFit Games religiously.
Yep.
It's super interesting to me, the freak athletes that you see.
Yep.
I mean, male and female. And how exhilarating was it your first time going to the CrossFit to the CrossFit World Championship and doing all that? Like the first time you go to a big CrossFit Games, right? What was that feeling like? Were you nervous? Were you excited?
So I'll back up, rewind a little bit. So you talk about, like, I always found myself when I was playing college football that I was always the guy that I loved the game. Like playing in the games, playing a game in a game was great. But I always enjoyed, in a weird sort of way, the conditioning and the off season and the lead into it, right? The preparation, that to me was always just a blast of camaraderie and the hard work you put in, regardless of the fact if I started or not, which never happened. But the point was, I enjoyed the work to get ready for it. And so when I found CrossFit, I realized, like, this is literally the same thing. It's just like, in a smart way, how can you outwork someone? Because we only have 24 hours in a day. So how can I outwork someone given all those modalities inside of CrossFit? And as we all know, we test literally everything. I mean, they've even in a joking sort of way at the Rogue Invitational a couple years ago, they did a biathlon using air rifles. They tested accuracy using air rifles. So we literally test everything. And that's why I fell in love with the sport, because I was already somewhat training for that and didn't know it, right? I was just enjoying the fitness side of things, enjoying being in shape, more so than actually starting. And so I realized that CrossFit was kind of made for me from that point on. But the nervousness for the CrossFit Games. So, so I wasn't expecting to qualify the year I did. And that first year I qualified in 2014 as my rookie year at the Games. And I remember flying to California and thinking to myself, like all good things that happen in your life, I'm going to wake up. Someone's going to pinch me. Someone's going to sit on my lap or slap me or something. And I'm going to wake up and I'm going to go back to revert back to 2013 or revert back to regionals and realize I didn't qualify. Like to me, that happened to me probably for the first at least 2 to 3 years. I kept thinking, this isn't real. Because when I started in 2013, I remember calling up my good friend at the time, who now is my wife, and saying, I found this thing called CrossFit. Like, it's super cool. She laughs about it now because it sounds like a cult. I mean, it is to a degree, right?
Most sports are to a degree.
She didn't understand it, and I was like, I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games. And like most people that say that I'm going to do something don't end up doing it. And so because I was able to do it for so many years, number one was a blessing, but two was just, it was a dream. It was a dream come true. The ability to make it to something that you really wanted to was cool. And so, I went to the Games in 2014, and I was nervous as all get out. I actually got married the day before I had to leave for the Games. We had not planned on me qualifying, and so I got married. We got on the next,
happy honeymoon.
To Carson, California, LA. And my honeymoon for the next 3 years was actually at the CrossFit Games. And God bless my wife, because, when you're competing,
what a trooper.
Don't talk to me, don't touch me. I'm here for this. And then after that, I can be yours. We can hang out. But during the Games, it's not us, it's me. So.
Yep. That's awesome, dude. That's awesome. You talk about is it a dream? Pinch me. I think a lot of people who seek something as far as an athletic, or even it happens a lot with social media, right? Someone gets social media famous, or somebody finally breaks through as an athlete, and they get what's called imposter syndrome. They're like, this can't be my life now, right? It's too good. And you got there. You got to the pinnacle of the sport. You did it for what, 7 or 8 years?
Yep.
At a super high level.
About 3 times. My best finish in 2019 being 6th overall. So it was, it's a great sport. It was. I look back at those memories and they are fantastic. It's an amazing sport. I had a great time. But what people don't understand, I actually had a couple people actually say this to me, which frustrates me a little bit, is the idea they'll say, I'm going to do the tactical games and then I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games or whatever. And I'm like, guys, you don't understand. I love the tactical games. It's a great community, great sport. That's not the same level. Like, there is nothing like that in this level. You're comparing it, going to make it the CrossFit Games is the people at the top of any shooting sport that are just beyond other people. We're talking like the Michael Jordans of the sport. I got to hang out with JJ Verkaza. That's a good example of someone who's just in a league of their own. And so that's what you need to compare it to is, someone like that has put in years and their lifetime worth of work towards it. And so just making it the CrossFit Games,
32 years is how long he's put into it.
It was when he was out of the womb. And people don't realize the amount of work to get to the top of a sport like that. It's not just like, I'm going to go next year. It's not how it works.
It's comparing competitive go-kart racing to Formula One.
Yeah. Hey,
it's really what it's like.
Just probably make good money, so I wouldn't put them down.
Yeah. Yeah, right. But no, it's super cool, man. And to play 6th at the CrossFit Games, that's absolutely insane. Many people regard whoever wins that event to be the most fit person in the world.
Yeah, because fittest on earth, and it's
fittest
not
on earth.
Because
so by that logic, you were the 6th fittest person to walk the planet. That's
Yeah, and
something
it comes
not a
down
lot
to
of people can
definition
say.
of fitness, right? Because you always run into it where you'll hear Spartan races be like, well, we're super fit. And it's like, yeah, you're really good at running long distance. But as soon as I gave you a sandbag your weight, you would just get demoralized. And so the best definition of the people who are the best at CrossFit, right, elite level at CrossFit, and is you're mediocre at everything. We are not specialized in one thing. If you took a top CrossFit athlete and shoved them into anything, they wouldn't win it, but they probably wouldn't get last. They do pretty decent because we have to be well-rounded at everything in the fitness realm. And so that's why I've actually enjoyed seeing people in our sport go out. You see a lot of CrossFitters go out sometimes and try other things and do fairly decent at it because, they're not going to be the best at it, but it's because we are so mediocre at everything and kind of combine it all together. So.
Yeah, you usually find someone that's at a high level in a sport like that can adapt those same principles and knowledge into just about everything. And I mean, the competitive drive has a lot to do with anything. I mean, you take somebody who has that competitive hunger and you put them in just about anything, and they'll find a way to not be last. They'll die before they're last.
It's actually pretty funny.
I
feel so bad,
right?
But I actually was teaching they had their first camp for tactical games in Austin a couple weeks ago. It was like a 3-day camp where it was like fitness and shooting, and I was of course teaching the fitness. And every time someone asked me to explain shooting or like give an example, I always compare it back to CrossFit because that's in my blood. So as soon as we talk about like, hey, what's the benefit of shooting single hand and how it helps you connect when you shoot both hands together, I always go back to like this, talk about Bulgarian split squats. Let's talk about how do you improve your squat. Isn't squatting with both legs technically all the time. It's like, let's do single leg work. And so it's so ingrained in me. It's actually really funny when you hear me explain shooting. It's like, well, let's talk about a snatch. And sometimes it just doesn't connect with people. So.
They're like, dude, I asked you about grip. You're talking about snatch. What are you doing? I'm trying to talk about grip and a pistol, and you're over here saying, well, when you do a pull-up.
Grab a pull-up bar. It's very similar to grabbing a pistol. It's really not.
Yep.
Oh, gosh.
That's awesome, man. So you make, you do well. I mean, not just well, you do incredible in the CrossFit world. And then now you're transitioning into tactical games, and you kind of jumped in head first, and I mean, you did pretty well right off the bat. I mean, it's not like, and I mean, obviously, the shooting portion is newer to you. I wouldn't say newer. You've been a shooter, but the competitive shooting portion of it's newer to you. You were able to lean heavily on the fitness side, but as you and I both know who have watched the tactical games or you've competed in it, I haven't. That won't get you very far unless you know how to shoot. So what was the preparation like? How long did you train before you went to your first tactical games?
Were like you said, hey, you prepared for the tactical games, like you shot for a while, but not competitive shooting. Man, the first tactical games I showed up to, I didn't know how to zero an optic. I didn't know how to grab a pin. I didn't know jack diddly. And I still don't know jack diddly. I still have to text people all the time and be like, I mean, I was halfway through last year's season, and I was actually through at least one event, and I had my optic mount backwards. Someone had to tell me that later. And then I was halfway through the season, and I realized that I didn't use a torque wrench to attach my optic mount to my upper. And I kept hand tightening after every event. And someone's like, yo, Jacob, that's not how that should work. Like, it should be tight the whole time. Like, I'm still learning as I go. So you say, I've pretty much been shooting for, I would say, like maybe about over a year. What had happened is I decided to stop competing in CrossFit and decided, when we can get into it later, but I stopped competing in CrossFit, and then I was asked to box. And then I was also decided I'm going to do a tactical games because I told myself I'm going to try tactical games. And so I decided, you know what? I'm going to try everything. I enjoy trying everything once. And if it's a waste of my time, I don't enjoy it, I'll never do it again. I don't care. Like a USAW meet, like an Olympic lifting meet. I did one in my life, decided I'm out. And so decided to give it one shot. And I signed up for the one in Utah. And what I realized before I even showed up is they had a really fantastic community at that time of guys. I didn't know any of the females. And now that I've gotten to know the females, it's very similar. But I realized that they had a fantastic group of guys there that were a close-knit community. And it really reminded me of like the grassroots CrossFit community back in like 2012, 2013, where everyone knew each other. we're in the back and I can't figure out how to do a muscle up, but my competitor who I'm competing with will help me, teach me how to do a muscle up and fix my kip. Because when I went to my first event, one of the guys, Sal Hernandez, who's a friend of mine, I remember literally I didn't know how to zero an optic, and he was like, "Hey man, let me help you out." And he's competing with me, and he helped me. Now I didn't hit anything that weekend, so Lord knows it was probably he put it wrong,
he put you 6 inches to the left, and he's like, "Got that son of a gun right there."
Ourselves. But
easy W.
And a lot of the guys would help me, and I fell in love with the community because of that. So I went to my first one, and of course, the fitness in my mind for the tactical games is usually the delineator between where division you should sign up for, because we don't shoot in tactical games where if you can't make that hit, you can't progress in the stage. It's always, instead, you can miss it, I don't care. It's always, oh, you can't pick up that sandbag or that farmer carry or that bar, then you can't progress. So in my mind, the fitness is the delineator. So, of course, when I heard that, I asked the guy who owned the company, I was like, what should I sign up for? Because I don't know what I'm doing. And he was like, you should sign up for Elite. So I went for Elite in Utah and ended up taking 4th overall. And then, yeah, it was, I mean.
I think I'm gonna try this.
Yeah, so
I got 4th. One off the podium. I bet you were disappointed, weren't you?
Yeah, I was mad. And
yeah.
I talked a whole lot of trash leading into that. I mean, I was talking so much trash. Good-natured trash, And so signed up for my second one. Was in Waxahachie, Texas at ETTS. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Waxahachie, whatever. Yeah, wax on. And ended up taking 2nd, and then went to Phoenix a couple months later. Ended up taking 1st, and then went to nationals. Now, how tactical games works is people go to events, and sometimes it's probably very similar to any shooting sport. Sometimes you can have a very deep field, and sometimes you don't have a very deep field. So it just the event in Utah was the deepest men's field I competed in before nationals, because everyone who was good went to Utah, partially because I talked so much trash that a lot of guys were like, "I'm gonna show me beat this CrossFitter," which I loved. He's a turd.
This CrossFit guy's going down, and only three of them are like.
And so ended up going to nationals this year, which is essentially how it works is it's very similar to regionals from an old CrossFit perspective, where top 5 from every event in the nation qualifies to go to nationals from the elite division, and the invites roll down. So when I went to Utah and placed 4th, I was invited to nationals. When I went to my next one and placed 2nd, 1st, 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th got an invite because I had already qualified. And so they essentially rolled down. So by the time you go to nationals, there's like 40 or 50 guys that qualify, that sign up, and ended up taking 2nd overall at nationals, and lost to Jared Halbert, who has won it a couple years in a row. I mean, and he's a fantastic shooter, owns a CrossFit affiliate. And so I could beat him in fitness, but it was marginal, and he would just destroy me in shooting. So, he's the one who kept helping me out with like, "Hey Jake, your optic now, so I'm backwards." Oh, cool. So, so ended up placing 2nd in nationals and really fell in love with it. And it's the sport that I'll be sticking with as long as I can, for as long as they'll let me. So.
That's incredible. So you just decide, hey, I'm going to go do this. And then you go 4th, 2nd, 1st, go to nationals, 2nd.
Realize, like, it's 50% is fitness. 50% is fitness, 50% is firearms. So if I can at least teach myself the basics, right? And that's literally it's fun to show the skill stuff, right? It's fun to show bump transitions, right? It's fun to show reloads. But what people don't realize, here's a CrossFit analogy, is when you go to the CrossFit games, people see the skill movements. They see the muscle ups, they see the ring handstand push-ups, they see the handstand walk, they see all the cool stuff. But what they don't see is all the hollow rocks, all the basic squats, all the basic positioning, all the body work, all the crap that's boring as crud, but is the most important. And so that carries over into shooting, sometimes even more so. Like how I press out, how I hold my pistol, my sight alignment, my sight picture, how I hold anything from the beginning. is some of the most important things, and that's literally all I do. It's fun to show the cool stuff. Don't get me wrong. Oh, it's fun to show me shooting fast. But like the stuff that really matters, that really put me ahead and allowed me to do so well, was just the basics. Because a lot of people come into the sport and think, well, I'm just going to immediately start doing what I see other people doing. Which, don't get me wrong, I tried and realized that's stupid. I'm going to rewind like 9 steps. And
It is,
do,
100%.
How do I hold my pistol and how do I install my optic right? So, yeah, exactly. So,
yeah, right. That's awesome, dude. And the pistol stuff, I mean, the pistol and rifle stuff is coming together, you know, because right when I heard about you was Mark with Atlas. Yeah, Mark Stevens. Mark Stevens hit me up, and I've helped Mark out a lot with the shooting portion. Me and him have done a lot of virtual dry fire training for his 3-gun stuff, mainly pistol. And he said, dude, you got to go check this guy out. Let me know what you think. And so I go on there. I'm like, well, he's a monster at CrossFit. He's about to go box. He's about to go. I was like, he's about to go box somebody. I was like, and he shoots, and he was like, yeah, he's going to do tactical games. And I was like, well, he's going to crush everybody in the fitness portion. And if you can teach that guy how to shoot halfway decent, he's going to murder everyone for the rest of his career. And he was like, exactly. He was like, that's what I'm talking about. So he's all pumped up. He's like, how fast do you think he could learn to shoot? I was like, he spends 2 or 3 good training sessions with 2 or 3 decent instructors and dry fires a couple days a week and does some live fire. In 2 to 3 months, the guy will be better than everybody. And he was like, you think? Oh, yeah. And here we are. I've been able to watch your shooting from the very beginning, which I'm not going to lie to you, was a newer shooter learning to shoot. It wasn't crazy, right? Your transitions were slow. Your trigger press was sloppy. Grip was sloppy. Shoulder placement, everything. Now, especially after the JJ class, because I've taken 3 JJ classes. He's a good friend of mine. And, he's my guy who, when I'm doing something, when I'm having issues, I text him, and he's always nice enough to be like right away, like, yeah, try this or try that, or no, that's stupid. Don't even worry about that. Or your idea is dumb. Try this. And now I'm seeing, the transitions are starting to move a little more fluid. The trigger prep looks great. Your grip looks great. It's starting to come together. And now I'm like, God, he went just on a whim and got second.
Yeah, I mean,
what's going to happen now? I would be terrified if I was shooting against you in tactical games. I mean, if I was a tactical games competitor, I'd be like, fuck.
That is the goal, right? The goal is, when you come into something, when I go box or I go CrossFit, the goal is to win. And so the goal, even though I had 6 months of shooting under my belt last year, the goal was to win. I wasn't able to do it, but I couldn't be mad losing to Jared. And Jared's a freak of an athlete and obviously a fantastic shooter. It makes me look stupid. I was actually out shooting with him this past weekend at the camp that he ran, and we were doing some transition drills. And like when someone's like an alpha rolls into the group and is like, just everyone's doing this cool drill, and then someone rolls in and just burns it down. He just shows up, burns the drill down, and then walks away. And I was like, well, we got a lot of work to do. But I appreciate it. But yeah, we've come a long way. I mean, essentially, what I did in CrossFit was, when you need to improve at something, rowing, snatching, you name it, swimming, you didn't go at it yourself. You either, 1, got a coach, or 2, you got a specialist. And that's the best part, is if you needed help on rowing, you go find a rowing specialist and they helped you out. And so I took that knowledge, the enjoyment of learning from CrossFit, and applied it to this sport, where I would literally go to a class. Like I'm good friends with the Langdons. And so went and stayed with him in Phoenix, and went to go, and Ernest was like, hey, come out and take one of my Langdon tactical classes. So when I was there taking a class, learning a crap ton, I asked them, okay, where do I go from here? I can keep taking your class if you want me to, but like, who do you recommend I go take a class with? He goes, go take a JJ class. And at that time, I had spoken to JJ a few times, only because he had done CrossFit and he knows who I was from the CrossFit industry, and he's good friends with Castro. And so I went and took a JJ class, and that was, I told JJ on day 1, I showed up, I said, hey, heads up, I'm going to be the worst person in this group. I'm okay with that. You don't base your learning curve off me. If I fall behind, Pirates Code of Honor, I'm going to stay behind. But by golly, I'm going to write all the freaking notes on this note card and come back with it. And so he, of course, You know how he writes all his notes on IPSIX on his targets? I took all those.
Yeah, he writes it on the
I'm
IPSC
like,
targets.
those are mine. I'm taking those home. Oh yeah,
I took pictures of
I
all of
took
them
pictures, but I was
every
also
time I
like,
take a
I'm taking
class.
the targets too. But I was like, and he looked at me
You
and
took
no one's ever taking the targets. I was like, well, I am, and I'm gonna fly home with it. But learned a lot, and so the goal is like to go off and learn from as many people that are experts in this field, because there's a lot of knowledge in this space, and so I'm a pretty humble guy. I know I'm terrible at something, and I'm gonna go fix it. And I know that I can go sit in my barn and dry fire every night, but if I'm just working on bad technique over and over and over again, I might as well go hang out with someone like Ernest or JJ or yourself or whoever and fix these things from the get-go and then come back and practice it the right way. And so I'll spend, as many as I can get in, as many seminars as I can get in this year, I will, from whoever's an expert. I don't really care, carbine, pistol, because that's the area I have to improve on in order to win this thing for years until I quit. So.
Yep. You started with the right guy, because like I said, I've taken 3 classes, 2 of them within a 6-day span of each other from JJ, which that was his idea, not mine. I took a class from him, and then we went and shot a match together, and he said, hey, stick around, take 2 days off work and spend Monday, Tuesday. I'm teaching another class up here. You can help me. So I was his range bitch and took the class for free.
You need to ask him when I was there.
And
we were doing entering, exiting positions, and he harped on me, as he should. I told him, I was like, dude, I don't care how much you make fun of me, point out my mistakes. I don't care, because I come from a professional elite sport where I got called out. I don't care. And I could not enter and exit a position very smoothly. I could, for the life of me, I can't roll into a position because I'm a crosser. I'm coming in freaking hot as hell.
Hard.
Not stopping, kicking up gravel. So still something I have to work on. But it was a great atmosphere and great opportunity to learn with him.
It is, man. It is. And it'll keep you up at night. The first time I took a class, I kept waking, like I was laying in bed, and like every 20 minutes, another nugget would pop into my head that I forgot to write down. I'd run into my gun room, write it down, come back in. My wife finally was like, "You're not, go sleep on the couch. You got up 19 times. Just leave. Just go in there, be by yourself." So then I just went and dry fired for like 2 hours and wrote down notes until I had to go to work in the morning.
Out there, and anytime we talked, I was just writing. I was like, I'm not even looking at you. I was like, I hope you don't mind that I'm not going to look at you, but I'm writing, because if I forget it, it's a waste of my time. But yeah, so currently, what my schedule looks like, going off of, because you talked about dry fire, live fire, is I live fire once or twice a week. Doesn't have to be long sessions. It can be very short round counts. Obviously, I'm blessed to have a range on my property behind my barn. Literally, I can shoot through right behind my barn.
You walk out your back door. It's bullshit. I'm so jealous.
I didn't realize it till later, but I have what most men would consider, hands down, easily the best setup ever recorded in history. I can only shoot 400 yards, which for most people, that's perfect. But if you're into PRS, I can't shoot any further unless I buy the property behind me, which, that. But plenty of space.
400 yards is plenty.
And so I dry fire about an hour every night, except for Thursdays and Sundays. Essentially, I treat rest days for CrossFit, for fitness, and for shooting is the same. And then I live fire about once or twice a week, and that obviously depends on competitions I have coming up or whatever. And, of course, the intention is live fire is only there to make sure what I'm doing is correct, and just following up and make sure I have recoil management and making sure that what I'm training is carrying over. I remember I thought dry fire was stupid, to be honest. I thought it was a freaking joke. Like, hey, Jake, pull out your gun, pull this trigger on this fake imaginary target, and you're going to get better. I'm like, oh, yeah, okay, sure, sounds good. I can also get better at snatching with no barbell. And so, which is actually true if you think about a PVC pipe, but at that time it wasn't clicking. Yeah. And so I got done with nationals in November of last year. I had so many people talk about dry firing, and I was like, I'm rolling my eyes thinking, what a waste of time. And I have a range. Like, why wouldn't I just shoot every single day, right? Why don't I just do that? And I decided, okay, I'm going to do 1 month. I'm going to do 30 days, the month of December. I'm going to dry fire every night, 20 minutes to an hour, whatever I can get in, and just see at the end of it if it's worth it. If it's not, screw it. I'll tell everybody that's stupid. I tried it for a month. I think I was 2 weeks in, and I realized I should have been doing this freaking years ago. Granted, I've been shooting years ago, and realized how important it was and how much there is to learn, how much it carries over. And that, pointing a gun at an imaginary target or just a sticky on a wall and pulling the trigger and teach yourself to draw and going off a shot timer is huge. And so I started off obviously working the basics, and I still work the basics every night, but I've been able to add different things. Obviously, we do a lot of positional work, so being able to add, having a VTAC in your barn is kind of cool because you can just work from your barn. Obviously, you don't need that. But subtle flex, right?
Subtle flex.
But I mean, having that available to me and doing dry fire, I realize is one of the most important things that has easily allowed me to grow in the shooting industry that nothing else ever has. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. And dry fire, I try to tell anybody who gets in the game and says, how do I get better? Dry fire 95% of the time. And I tell them, hey, if you can't, let me know. I've got material I can send you. I've got books I can recommend, training programs that'll make it interesting. But 95% of shooting can be learned and somewhat perfected in dry fire and then just confirmed in live fire. I mean, my first year in the sport of USPSA and IPSC, I had a similar mindset. I'm going to shoot as much as possible. And I shot 98,000 rounds. And seriously, and spent an absorbent amount of money and time just training shooting. And I got good. Right. But I also plateaued because there's only so much you can understand of the finite movements of the gun when it's going bang in your hand. And the second year I was like, okay, I'm going to transition to 60% dry fire, 40% live fire. And it just went, I mean, my ability just shot up. And now I'm to the point where I'm 80-20, 80% dry fire, 20% live fire. I still shoot a lot. Don't get me wrong.
70,000 rounds.
I'll probably shoot 30,000 rounds this year. No. I did that last year. Last year, I think I shot. I still shot like 80-something thousand rounds. But it was like when on my 2 days that I go to the range, I shoot 1,500 to 2,500 rounds, straight, and just spend like 3 hours out there banging out shit. But most of it is dry fire, as you could. I mean, we're actually in my guest bedroom, which is now my dry fire room.
My
wife
will not let me leave targets up on the wall in my barn because the barn is obviously very pretty, and so I just have IPSC targets that I move out. I call them my ladies, and I just put them out in the floor, and I just do. That's what I do every night. So, but yeah, it's
I'm going to send you some of these. These are stick on, stick off. There, you can put them on and put them off of stuff like 1,000 times. They're made by Go Fast and stuff. They're fantastic.
But they don't have a sticky in the back, so I have to use painter's tape, which is terrible.
Oh no, these are sticky. They're great. I'll send you some. He's even got swingers. He's got it.
It's actually real and metal. I had to go shoot.
So right.
One thing that I will say that helped me tremendously, that was advice, was not only dry fire, but I went and did a bunch of USPSA matches and 3-gun matches and 2-gun matches, because what I realized is, some of the top guys in the tactical games were professional shooters in other areas. So if I can get good at shooting very complicated, when I scale back to do basic things, I'll be, because tactical games is not super complicated, right? I'm shooting a target standing still or behind a barrier. Sometimes we're moving. And so it's very similar to CrossFit. Like, you go take a CrossFit athlete, put them in the CrossFit games, we see all the really cool things. That's awesome. When you take them out and put them in the open, they kill people with basic movements because they may not practice them every day, but they're still a base movement they're still really good at because it's still integral and foundational to their fitness. And so I did a lot of USPSA local matches, and as much as I could, and learned a crap ton. And the dovetail, what I'm going off of, is we had a swinger there and I didn't like it. I was like, that's a moving target, dude. I don't know about this. I'll put my pistol at it instead of shooting it. But yeah.
I'm gonna tell you how this was my advice for swingers, and I was told this by Eric Raffel, who is widely regarded as the greatest trigger puller in history. They call him the supercomputer. I think he's like 13 or 14,
Yeah,
maybe
he's
even
JJ
16
Springer.
years undefeated.
I follow him
I
on Instagram.
mean,
Yeah,
at every
it's
level.
stupid. I don't watch his videos.
Yeah,
It
yeah,
makes me feel,
yeah.
makes me feel stupid.
He's a different level. Yeah. Dude, trust me, I do this for a living. It makes me feel stupid. Okay. So I hit him up because he's been on the podcast and we talk back and forth, and I hit him up and I said, hey man, what's the easiest way to get over a target that you absolutely hate? And he goes, swinger, ? Yeah. And he sent me a picture. He leaves like this much space on a swinger of scoreable zone, and he'll put a heavy weight and just get it moving dumb. And he's like, you will sit there and I want you to shoot 1,000 rounds at that swinger. I was like, what? And he was like, yeah, shoot it till it slows down, speed it back up, do it all over again.
We don't have swingers. Yeah, that's ridiculous.
But dude, by the end of it, he goes, and when you're done, you're gonna miss almost all of them. He was like, when you're done, put a new target on there, a full size target, and shoot it. And I was like, okay. I finished. Dude, that swinger looked like it was a dump truck swinging. It was so big, looked so huge. The scoring zone seemed massive, and then the timing. I was so used to the timing now, and I would change the weights and change the timing. Now, when I walk up to a stage and I see a swinger, I'm like, oh yes, I'm gonna crush everybody on this part. You know, like he works something so hard and he makes like JJ, when JJ trains, gives himself 2 inches of scoring zone, vertical on one target and horizontal on another target. And those are just peppered out. And if you hit a penalty,
I remember
you start all over.
About it, and I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I'm not on your level. So yeah, I'm going to shoot the whole thing.
Dude, it's miserable. The first time I ever trained with him, I said, oh, okay. I'm a junior high quarterback trying to throw with Tom Brady right now. That's what's happening. That's exactly what's happening. It was so bad. And so we got to get you out to a USPSA major. That's what we got to do. We need to get you out to a big event and shoot on the squad with us. And that'll be when you shoot with high level shooters on a squad. You'll be surprised at how much you pick up.
Anytime I shoot with anyone in a squad, I'm usually amongst high-level shooters because they're all much higher level than me. So, I mean, anytime I go in, I remember the first USPSA match I showed up to. It was a local match here. And, again, I come from a sport where I'm okay just saying, I suck at this, help me out. I walked in and I said, look, guys, I don't know jack diddly about what I signed up for. I don't even know what I'm supposed to be shooting. So you got to tell me, I don't know anything. And this guy goes, okay, just any target you see, you're going to shoot it twice. And go for the A zone. And he's showing what the A zone is. I said, okay. Didn't tell me not to shoot the white ones, but sure. Because I'm targets. There's some black ones. There's some brown ones. There's some ones that look not like people, look like little turtle shells or whatever. And, so it's been a learning process for sure. But I would say, like, going out and trying other variations of a shooting sport has been hugely beneficial to me. I mean, when we got to the tactical games, isn't just standing static shooting. We do a lot of essentially, I call them floater workouts from a CrossFit industry, but they call them aggregates, where they will essentially do like, hey, today you're going to be doing 3 events for the tactical games, and anytime today between 8 and 4 o'clock, there is a stage, essentially very similar to a USPSA stage, that you need to go shoot. But you can shoot one time today, but you have to shoot it today at some time, and you just do it whenever you feel like it. And it's a score. And so doing USPSA matches and 3-gun or whatever really helped out going there and feeling comfortable moving between targets, even though last year, going back and watching my videos of last year, I'm like, dude, you suck compared to now. But it's been enjoyable and good for me to go try other shooting sports to help me benefit when it comes to tactical games. So.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think so if you had to put a number on it, what percentage of the tactical games is fitness versus shooting from a percentage of, like, if you were, say you take a very high level shooter who is somewhat in shape and they go versus someone who is in ridiculous top tier fitness and can operate a firearm somewhat proficiently, Who is in better shape for the tactical
Good
games?
question. It also comes down to the stages overall. When you weight the stages overall and look at the whole weekend, it's 50-50, right? It should be 50-50, and that's how it is. It depends on the fitness level, like we talked about, of the great shooter. Because if we get to a stage where we have to pick up a heavier sandbag, put it over a yoke, whatever the case may be, and that person's fitness level will not let them pick up that sandbag. And usually how sandbag weights work is we work up in weight as we go, right? So we might have a 100, then a 150, then a 200, whatever. And so if that person is not, as an example, in the elite division last year at nationals, we had to put a 250-pound sandbag over a yoke that was about clavicle height. That's not that heavy. I mean, 250 pounds is not that big of a deal. Now, for a lot of the guys,
dead sand weight.
I mean, heavy is
pretty heavy.
Heavy is relative to what you are. You can also say, "Oh, that's a really easy shot to make."
Yeah.
But for me, it might be really difficult to shoot a line like JJ Racaza does. It's relative. And so, in that event,
100%.
In that event, there was shooting after that 250-pound sandbag, and so if you couldn't get that sandbag over, you didn't get to shoot that final firing sequence. Therefore, those were all drop shots. And so sometimes in certain events, there are firing sequence. Again, they had never done that 250 sandbag again. They only did it one time last year, and that was at Nationals because it is the pinnacle of that year's season. And there was also very hard shooting. But if you didn't make it, you didn't get those shots. And so usually if you are really good at fitness and mediocre at shooting, you can do fairly decent, but it's evenly weighted over the course of the weekend. So, last year I didn't understand anything related to canting a rifle, shooting a rifle through a barrier, anything to do with how zero works at all. And so, my rifle's zeroed. I should be able to put it right in the middle of the target at 15 yards at 200 yards. That's not how that works. And so it's 50-50, I would say, long answer to the question.
That's awesome. I've toyed with the idea of going to one, like a little local skirmish. I'm toying with it more now that I'm getting back into what I would call
fitness.
Peak-ish physical condition. Like I'm starting to, you go from a collegiate athlete, and I also power lifted all through high school and a little bit after college. Did well, some state titles, stuff like that. So I was a relatively fit guy. And then, you get a job and you slow down, you get married, you get happy, you get fat, whatever. So before I was like, man, that tactical game shit looks fun. And then I was like, you know what? I'm going to go on a run and I'm going to wear a weighted vest. And if I can make it to a 4-mile run with a weighted vest and feel good afterward, I'll go try that. And I got done and was like, okay, asshole, you are in no condition to even step on that field. Just shut up and stick to what you're doing. Now I'm starting to train, and I'm like, dude, you know what? Tactical games sounds fun. I'll probably get my ass kicked.
That's the point, though. That's the beauty
on
of
the physical portion.
Things.
Yeah. Exactly. And I enjoy the challenge, right? But my problem is I'm going to get my ass kicked, and then I'm going to go, how can I make sure that never happens again? And then I'm going to I'm already so deep into USPSA and IPSC. I'm like, I enjoy this so much. I'm like, do I need to add a third discipline?
All you need to do is just show up my barn. I will not teach you how to shoot, but I can teach you fitness. But it's.
Oh my God, I see a lot of throwing up in that future.
I have never thrown up in CrossFit ever. Yeah, never.
Really?
The funny part is I had to explain.
Oh man.
No.
You've never thrown up from a workout?
The funny part is the tactical games perspective, if you ask me, again, this is relative, the fitness is not that hard in the tactical games, right? It's not that difficult. It's nowhere near CrossFit games, and it's not that difficult. Correct.
Well, yeah, coming from your background, I could see that,
yeah. Really easy. And so it was kind of hard to explain that to guys because, like, when I'm doing a CrossFit workout, when I'm doing Fran or running a mile or whatever workout you want me to do, At no point in the workout am I required to have a decent relative heart rate to do something that requires accuracy. I'm not rowing a 5K and then getting off and being like, okay, you have to stay below 120 beats a minute or 100 beats a minute or whatever the case may be, right? I'm going to full send it. And if I get to 180, I'm at 180. I'm redlining. Who cares? Because it doesn't matter. But like from the tactical games perspective, I can't redline because as soon as I redline and go up to shoot that firing sequence, Lord hope I can actually just hit the freaking berm and not just shoot over the berm, right? Because you're just not hitting crap. And so, it's a 10-second penalty for every miss. And so, it was funny. It was funny because it was funny because this year I kept telling guys that like you haven't seen me redline yet. You don't know what that looks like. And then we actually went to the Nationals this year in Texas, and we had a 12-minute stage where we had shooting and working out, and that went immediately into a 12-minute stage of just working out. No firearms. You had your belt on you, which took your rifle. Oh.
You were licking your chops, I could already tell.
I'm going to show you what redline works, and it's going to be awful, and you're going to see what it looks like. And I essentially went out there with a vendetta to say, this is what I can do if you don't let me shoot. Because a lot of guys would be like, oh, I can beat him in a stage. It's like, yeah, because I have to keep my heart rate low to make accurate shots because I'm terrible. Like, but let me just do fitness and we can see what I'm capable of doing. But yeah, we don't do very many workouts like that because it obviously.
How bad did you win that?
It was bad.
The fitness part when
like,
you just were able to redline.
I don't remember. It was by points. It was essentially it was 20 yards. It was 20 yards from cone to cone. In the middle, so at the 10-yard mark, was an 8-foot wall. And we had a Husafell stone. You know, Husafell, you're a strong man. You know who Husafell stone is. We had a Husafell stone. And so for 12 minutes, this is the most basic 12-minute AMRAP I've ever done in my life, which was awesome. You pick up the Husafell stone in the front rack. You walk it to the wall. You set it down by the wall. You climb over the wall. And it's a flat wooden surface. There's no foot pedal, no nothing. You get over the wall, you pick up the Husafell stone, you walk to the other side, you turn around, you just keep doing that for 12 minutes, back and forth for 12 minutes. And if
how heavy was the stone?
They actually use plastic so they can fill them with water. That way they can weight it easily for the women and the men differently. I don't remember. It's a good question. It wasn't super heavy. I don't remember exactly. It was well over 150, I think. No, maybe it wasn't. Maybe it was 130. I don't remember. It wasn't super heavy because it was for 12 minutes. They can't make it super heavy.
12 minutes of 130 pounds. That'll wear you out.
I'm pretty sure I was multiple rounds ahead of second place. I mean, 3, maybe more. And I remember thinking, I got to do well this workout because this is going to put me on the podium. So we got to full send it on this workout. But yeah. So we don't do very many just fitness only events because it obviously favors people like me more than the shooting. But we obviously do shooting only events. And so one of the events at Nationals we did this past year, which was the one that disallowed me from taking first. There were a lot of reasons, but this one was one main reason I can pick out of my head. We had to do a jungle run. I have never ran through trees and shot targets with a pistol and rifle in my life. And there is obviously a memorization behind that and knowing how many targets per position you've shot and making sure you hit them all. And so at the end of the run, if you're done, clear your pistol, show a cleared pistol, holster, hammer down, all that good stuff. And I said, are you finished? I said, yes. And I said, you missed a few targets. And that was on like a 50-second event, 10 seconds per penalty miss, obviously is not. Yeah, I mean, we're talking like
that adds up
20% of your overall score, right? And so it added up pretty quickly. But it was obviously a great way to learn to get better. And so we've got, obviously I currently own 50 acres of land and we've got a lot of trees. And so I'd be remiss to tell you if I don't already have a path laid out for a jungle run, prepare for this year. So we will learn. The best way to learn is go out there and teach yourself.
Go out there and do it. Yeah. The famous thing in USPSA and IPSC is this is how you know you've missed the target. When the RO goes,
I didn't know
if
the
you're
inflection
finished.
is important, and he said that, and I thought to myself, why the hell is he saying it like that? And then, of course I'm dead. My pistol's in the holster, bro. He's like, hand on shoulder. He's like, you
Yeah.
a few targets. And I'm like, well, there it goes.
Mm-hmm.
There goes my weekend. But yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I can usually, it happened to me a couple times, like a couple of years ago, where I had a hard memorization stage and I left the target. And as soon as the guy, I'm already unloaded and I'm showing clear, and he goes, if you're finished. And I went, golly. I literally turned to him, and I think I said, where's it at? And he was like, unload, show clear. I put it in my holster, and he's like, man.
Yeah, it was there's no better way to learn. So I'm okay with it. And,
yeah.
Last year in my mind was a complete learning year, and now's the year to say, okay, I'm still learning this year. Don't get me wrong. But now it's okay, I've done it for 1 year.
You learned and got second at Worlds.
Now we're going to win it for as
many
nationals. Years as I can pull it off. So as many years as it'll let me.
Well, with the shooting progressing as I see it, and your level of fitness, I'd say if Tactical Games was bettable in Vegas, I'd probably mortgage a house on it.
Let's talk about betting on boxing. Let's talk about boxing, because you could bet on that.
Yes. So audio's
off. Heads up. Yep, there you are.
All right, sorry, somebody tried to call me. And my friend who knows I'm in a podcast. People are annoying. All right, so I want to talk about the boxing because that takes balls.
It was the scariest thing
to just
of my
go,
life, for sure.
You know what? I'm going to fly across the world because it was overseas, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, so I'm going to fly to Dubai, and I'm going to get in a ring and just decide to box somebody in front of the whole world.
Yeah.
How did you come to that conclusion? How did that even come about?
The guy boxed Josh Bridges is a friend of mine. He was a CrossFit Games athlete for many, many years. OG, been around longer than me, CrossFit space. Wonderful individual, Navy SEAL.
That's not terrifying at all.
So we'll get to it in a second. So he had started boxing at the same time. Dave Castro, who's the head of programming, or was the head of programming for CrossFit, was boxing, also a Navy SEAL, also a CrossFitter, also an avid shooter and in PRS. I believe he's like a master level USPSA, good shooter. And Thor and Eddie Hall were going to box. And they obviously just got done boxing in March, right? They were supposed to box in September. And Eddie pulled his bicep and had to pull out. So they were deciding to box in September before he injured himself. And so essentially it was going to be a card of a bunch of boxers, but then the main card was going to be a bunch of non-boxers boxing, with the title fight being Eddie and Thor. And
it ended up being, I think, Devin Lorette, right?
You got a payday for a whole lot of nothing. And
bro, so I've met him a couple times. When he grabbed my hand to shake it, I went, oh, okay, we're two different species. That's what this is.
I had when I met Thor. I was like, I came from a human woman. I don't know what you came from, but whatever you came out of, but it is not the same human being. So anyways, I'm in Hawaii, February. So not this February, the year before, 2021. I get a call. I actually get a random Instagram message, and I love responding to random Instagram messages because those are when the best things happen. And so I get this random message saying, "Hey, my name's Cooper. I'm Josh Bridges' manager. Give me a call. I got a cool opportunity." And so of course I'm like, well, let's talk, because who knows what this is going to be. Never in my wildest dreams would you have been like, say 5 things you think is going to happen out of this call, and I'd have been like, we're going to box. Would have never been in my top 200. And so I call him. He's like, hey, we need someone to box Josh in September in Dubai. You'll essentially have 6 months to train boxing for this. And
it's not a lot of time.
And so I said, okay, I'm going to talk to my boss, meaning my wife. So I said, let me call you back. So I walk in. So I'm on the beach taking this call. I walk into our condo and I say, hey, you won't believe what happened. They want me to box Josh Bridges. And she's like, absolutely not. I don't want your pretty face to get broken apart. And I said, well, they're going to pay me for it. Here's what they're going to pay me. And she goes, okay, yeah. I'm like, so at that point, I realized how much my face is worth, my pretty face, quote unquote, is worth to her via monetary value. And so
she's like, you're going to get the shit beat out of you for how much? Oh, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. You know what? I think you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine.
Life insurance in case you die, so you're good. And so,
yeah, well, me and the kids will be A-okay. Don't worry about it.
I texted a buddy and said, yo, I need to find a boxing coach in Kansas City. Found a boxing coach. And actually, pause for a second. Sal, a friend of mine, jumped on the live. He's the guy who taught me how to actually zero my rifle we were talking about earlier. So good dude. Obviously a better shooter than me by quite a bit. So anyways, we are found a coach, did 6 months of boxing, essentially jumped all in. At that time, I was not competing CrossFit anymore. And so at that point, I decided I'm competing in the tactical games and I'm doing boxing. So I'm teaching myself 2 different avenues of fitness at the same in 2021. That is boxing, because number one, I don't want to get my teeth kicked in, because it could legitimately happen. Maybe not kicked, but punched in, right? Yeah. And then 2, I'm teaching myself how to shoot. So I had to kind of pick and choose, like, hey, I can't focus too much on shooting too much because, man, if I don't shoot very well, whatever. If I don't box very well, it doesn't matter. That can be dangerous. And so I boxed. I would drive in to Kansas City. It's about a 20-minute drive. And I would box every day for 2 hours and then usually come home and spend time in a bag in my barn for about an hour every night. I stopped lifting because being tense like a CrossFitter was not important for boxing. I had to loosen up. I had to become more fluid and move a little better and move my feet better. And so spent 6 months boxing. I have some great sparring stories. They would just take me to like this local like Kansas City police athletic league group. It was like essentially like this boxing gym and this really nice church that was for youth around the town. And they would just shove me in the ring. And I'm paint a picture for you, right? I show up and I am obviously in very good shape, showing up, competing against kids, okay? And now granted, the areas I'm going into are not necessarily, I'm the only white guy in the building walking into this thing. Let me just paint a picture. And so I am public enemy number 1 because this is like their boy. Like these are their boys. This is their gym. And I get that. That's great. That's camaraderie. And I'm sure everyone circles around the ring and everyone's against me, which I love. Like it's a great memory for me looking back. And after we were done, I was always hanging out with the guys, talking to them. But I went there for a couple weeks, about a month, and at the end of it, I made some good friends there, and they appreciated because I'm a pretty humble guy. I don't care if I get the crap knocked out of me. But I got to a ring with like this 14-year-old kid, right? And I'm thinking, this kid is 14, bro. This 14-year-old kid is fast as hell.
As soon as he snapped that first jab, you're like, oh shit!
It might have been a 2. And that sucker came in, and I'm thinking to myself, I ain't never seen a punch that fast. And I got worked. And then by about so essentially like the last time I went, they always loved to pick on me, which I was totally fine with. They knew that I was going to go fight in a match. Just they want to give me the best foot forward and have me have a good time. And so they put me in there for essentially a 2-minute round. I think the last time I went, they put me in a 2-minute round with a guy. Then the same guy again with a 1-minute rest, and then a different guy for 2 rounds of 2 minutes, and then another guy. So essentially I had a round robin, and there were always different body types. The 14-year-old kid was in there. There was always this bigger guy, then some other guy who had like albatross arms so I could never hit. And so essentially to say, like, I learned a lot of humility, a lot of humbleness came from it. Had a blast, have some great stories. And then essentially we went out to Dubai and went out there and boxed Josh. I remember getting into the ring and I had sparred so many people that did not care about me. You know, it's one thing to spar your coach who you train with and who you know.
Yeah. Who you trust and like know isn't going to permanently damage you.
And I know how he throws. And so like, you learn things by somebody. And so I remember stepping in the ring, and even in the first round, I remember thinking, I've had sparring matches where people literally tried to kill me. I vividly remember they put me in one of the last couple times I was sparring, they put me in a ring with the instructor of the gym, and he worked me for 3 rounds. I was on the ground multiple times, taking a knee because I'm like, dude, I'm going to block out. He's going to knock me out. He would just sit there and just wait for me. He was a counter puncher. He would just sit there and wait for me to throw, and then just make me regret it. To the point where I was like, I don't even really want to throw anymore. I don't even know if I want to box. And
yeah, he's like, come on, throw a punch. You're like, no, I know what's going to happen.
Like,
no, I'm just going to stand here.
And I'd throw a punch, and then he just smacked me, and I'm like, I don't like this anymore. And so I remember stepping in the ring with Josh, and Josh obviously is a great athlete, great boxer, but I quickly realized to a point we had overtrained for it. Like it was, we had trained and done too much sparring, where it was like, okay, I feel comfortable being here. But of course, they didn't care about our weights. I was like 10 to 15 pounds heavier than him. When you watch the video, you can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it for free. I look like a monster compared to him.
I watched I watched it live, right?
Live.
Yeah, I watched.
Good.
Yeah, I watched it. Yeah, I streamed it live. It was. I didn't expect you to look that big, to be honest. Yeah, because you could tell you're a big guy, right? But I thought, oh, he's gonna fight another like elite fitness guy. This other guy's got to be just as big. And then you see what appeared to be on TV. It looked like a 30 to 40 pound weight difference. It looked pretty significant. I was like, holy shit, this guy's tiny. And it was like watching Thor and Devin. You're just like,
I was 12 pounds heavier than him. But the problem is, like, either you're 12 pounds, it doesn't take into consideration your frame. Like, you can't change your frame. It's just the weight around your frame or in your frame. And so I was 12 pounds heavier than him, and I still had 1.5 inch, 2-inch reach on him. I don't remember. But I just threw jabs. but it was, but looking back, and so this is kind of the moral of the story, I guess, when you try new things, is what you initially said was, man, it takes balls to step into a ring. It scared the living daylights out of me. I remember accepting it on a whim. And then months into training thinking, what have I done? Why am I doing this? The fitness for boxing is not fitness for CrossFit. It is completely different. And it makes you realize and respect people that do different sports than you. I already did, but it makes it even more so now. And so it makes you realize, like, trying new things like that scared the living daylights out of me. I remember how nervous I was going into the ring. And then I remember after round 1 thinking, this is so much fun. And it was actually in the middle of it. I remember Josh hit me with an overhand right, overhand 2, because we knew he was going to throw a lot of overhand 2s because I was going to jab so much. And just connected. It connected about 3 good times at overhand right. One of them in particular was one of the harder ones. And I remember stepping back, whatever, and laughing. And I looked at him and you actually see it on film. I'm laughing, and I literally go, bro, that was a good one. And he starts laughing. Because I remember we got done, we went to a bar later and had a couple drinks. I had a super fruity drink, and he had a beer because that's who we are. And we remember talking about it and being like, dude, that will be one of the coolest experiences of my life. Not because I got to step into a ring with someone, box, regardless, win, lose, or draw, I don't care. But, like, the experience of trying something new at a high level, knowing that it's going to be watched by thousands and thousands of people, and, like, I did it for 6 months. Like, judge away, I don't care. Yeah.
At this point, millions. Because the videos on YouTube have quite a few views, and so, I know a lot of people streamed it.
I remember thinking to myself, regardless of whatever I do in life from here on out, nothing will ever scare me as much as doing that. Like, I don't care. I remember going to the Nationals that year, and I remember being nervous the first couple ones I did, but I remember going to Nationals thinking, this is a joke. I don't care. I want to win, but I'm not nervous anymore because there's not someone in a ring with me trying to hurt me. There's not millions of people watching this that, can judge me and be like, Jacob's trash, or whatever the case may be. And so from here on out, I realized what a great experience that was priceless. They could have paid me nothing, and that would have been worth everything to me in the long run. So.
Plus, how many people can say, like, I flew to Dubai, fought in a boxing match on with at the time thousands and thousands of people there live, and tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people streaming it at the same time. And ended up going and having a beer with the guy afterward.
We got done, and they were like, "Are you gonna box again?" And I was like, "Nope, I'm done. This is a one-time thing." I'm like, "What are you gonna do now?" I looked at Josh. I'm like, "We're gonna go off and have a beer together. We're gonna." The funny part is, like, and this is the difference between, I think, elite competitors. And again, I'm not in MMA and I'm not in boxing. It's obviously different, but Josh and I come from a sport where when we need to turn it on, we can turn it on. We don't. There's no reason to turn it on, and so. The funny part is, throughout the week, we stayed in the same hotel. We ate in the same restaurant. We would have dinner together. Just he and I would have dinner together at nights and just talk and spend an hour there talking. And one time, the guy who's running the fight rolled in, and we were sitting there, Josh and I having a conversation, having dinner together, and I'm pouring Josh's water for him. And the guy walks in and goes, looks at us and goes, "What the hell are you guys doing? Like, are you guys legitimately going to fight?" Like, he was serious. And Josh looked at him and go, "Yeah, we're going to, we have no problem turning it on when it comes down to it. But I don't have a reason to be mean and mad at him now and not talk to him." We were actually like, even the couple of fights before our fight, we were sitting there together watching these fights together, laughing, watching this. And then, we obviously, of course, went out and got ready, went out and boxed, and then we were down. We took the same ride back to the hotel. And then we had a beer together and hung out. But yeah, it was what a cool experience. yeah.
Over there spitting blood,
exactly.
bullshitting in the cab.
That
like,
was legit.
Dude, that was
Never
awesome.
again,
Yeah. Oh my God, man. That's pretty cool, man. That's gotta have been such a cool experience.
Overall,
I mean, the whole thing top to bottom.
I would almost rank it above going, like, what I learned, not the experience itself, but what I learned from it well outweighs whatever I've ever learned from CrossFit. From 6 months of boxing, I learned a lot about myself and about trying different things. So
you find a lot of people get such good growth out of doing something so outlandish and just so off the wall, potentially dangerous. I mean, I've had friends of mine who are, docile people, just very calm, collective, and they go, "Man, I'm gonna go sign up for jiu-jitsu," right? And I'm like, "Really, you?" I'm like, "Okay, go for it, check it out." And then they come back after 4 or 5 classes, and they're like, God, they're like, the first 2 classes they were terrified, and then now they're like, "Dude, this is," they're just a changed person. They're like, "Okay, now I know, like, if, like, nothing can really hurt, like someone really trying to hurt you, because when you go to a jiu-jitsu class, you're rolling, you're not trying to hurt each other, right? You're just chilling. But then every now and again, you tell, like, they'll say, "Okay, let's turn it up a little bit," and then you really feel what it's like to get put in a compromising position, and you're like, "Oh, you mean I could not use this arm anymore for the rest of my life?" Okay, I get it.
Circumstances where you feel uncomfortable, and unfortunately, in the society we live in right now, a lot of people don't want to feel uncomfortable. Well, I would say 90% of our society feels that way, and so, yeah,
I would say 98%. Nobody likes discomfort nowadays.
Whether that,
ask Will Smith.
Discomfort, and we want to lash out or do different things or just sit in our bubble, and that's not where growth occurs. I wouldn't be where I am if I didn't feel comfortable stepping outside of my comfort zone, saying, "I'm going to try this thing called CrossFit because Lord knows what it is," or "I'm going to go off and try this new shooting sport because someone told me." What's up, Savon? Or I'm going to go try this boxing thing because it's something outside of the realm of what I'm used to. But you're right, growth. And luckily, I've been blessed to have a growth mindset, and I'm going to go try new things. I'm going to go do something new. And that's been one of the biggest things when you learn about yourself as life goes on that I've loved to have in my back pocket.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that was so I fell into the shooting sports. Yeah, I see a couple people people know exactly where you're at.
Crappy internet. I'm from the middle of Kansas, and so or not middle of Kansas City, so I'm not really middle. And I have crappy internet at my house. And so if I want to do a podcast or do I need good internet quality. I don't stay at my house. And Savon knows because Savon runs a podcast from the CrossFit space that I've been on a few times. And the best internet is obviously next to an AT&T tower. Well, go figure, the only really good AT&T tower around my house is in the parking lot of a strip club. And so, yes, it's a great spot, right?
Oh my God, they're
I
serious.
go take a podcast. I go to the strip club parking lot. I usually park my truck so you don't see a strip club in the back, you know, because I mean, the name Wisp.
Oh my God, no, repark. I want to see it.
Appropriate. And that, so I usually park at the strip club, and I didn't go there today only because tomorrow's Easter.
Oh.
I didn't want to have my pastor drive by and be like, yo, so Jacob, like, I saw you yesterday in the strip club parking lot. You want to talk about it? I'm like, yeah, I was on this podcast. Yeah. Like, that's never going to fly. Yeah. Like, no one's ever going to believe that. But yeah.
That's gotta be, you know how many people are going to use that excuse now in that town or somewhere similar and be like, babe, I got to go do a podcast. I'll be back. Well, okay. Why are you at a strip? Yeah, it's got the best
it's the dog,
internet,
dog
okay?
my home.
It just is what it is.
Flies, you know, like, yeah, man, I'm going to the strip club, you know. Luckily, my wife doesn't listen to too many of the podcasts I'm on because she probably thinks I'm annoying when I talk. But she, if she did, she'd be like, like, just for internet. So, yeah, luckily I don't get tracked on my phone. So,
don't worry, my wife doesn't watch any of my shit. She's like, I deal with enough of you at home. I'll be honest, I thought they were kidding when they said that. And then when you confirmed it, that is the greatest thing ever.
The podcast I tell that story on, obviously I'm okay telling on your podcast, but if I'm on a podcast where it's very family friendly, or maybe more faith-based or whatever, probably don't lead with that, nor do I talk about that. Yeah, AT&T picked a great parking lot.
Listen, man, this is your safe space. Oh my God, yes, that's awesome.
For an AT&T tower, they really picked a fantastic spot for good virtual things they do. So, hey
man, you don't want the music. You know, DJs, you stream everything now. They don't want the DJ running out of music. Yeah, exactly. That is the greatest thing ever. Yeah, no, you can. There's really no limits on this podcast. We've I don't know if you've ever listened before. You know, kind of anything goes. We don't go too far and we don't get super political, but say what you want to say, man. Hey, listen, if you were doing this from inside the strip club, it might fly. You know, it just is what it is.
We're gonna stay outside of it for sure.
Yeah, I'd be like, is that Cinnamon behind you? I think I recognize her. Oh my God, that's awesome. So you go from the boxing right into the tactical games. Have you? So obviously you're a guy who just tries everything.
I mean, in my mind,
right?
I will try everything, knowing that I can make money from it. That's the important thing. I mean, it has to be worth my time. I mean, I'm not going to go out and get really good at billiards or pool because I enjoy it. I don't make money from it. I mean, you can, but like, I'm not going to. So,
yeah, I mean. Yeah, there's got to be some monetary influence. That's me with shooting. I originally started doing it as a hobby, and then I was like, if I'm going to spend this much time, can I get paid to do this? And then I started looking at like, oh shit, you can. Exactly. Oh well, let's do that. Yeah, and it's pretty simple. It's actually easier than people think. I tell people that, you know, I got a lot of buddies who are shooters, and they're great shooters, and they're like, God, man, if only you could make money.
Yeah, we actually talked about this offline before this, but like the thing that is I like about the shooting industry, because it benefits me, is the fact that you guys are so far behind in technology and marketing. It is laughable. It is laughable sometimes with, and not specific companies, but it's laughable sometimes where people just don't create content. Obviously you do. Whoa, hit my steering wheel. Obviously you do, but people don't create content, and they wonder to themselves. So a good example. I went to the tactical games in Utah for my first tactical games about this time last year, and I showed up, and I wasn't contractually working with a company, but I had a company send me a rifle to use. And I had a couple people that I went and competed with that were like, why are they sending you crap? You've literally never done anything, nor have you even competed. And I had to sit them down and try to explain to them, granted I don't think it really came across, like, you don't understand that I have the capability of creating more content than you will ever create in your life. And I come from a sport where I have a name for myself already. It may not be in the shooting space, but having a CrossFitter, a lot of people in the shooting industry do CrossFit, sometimes from other companies, a lot of them. And so
A lot.
they may know who I am already, regardless of, they don't care if I shoot well. They just care because I can create content, and hopefully, this is what Mark did, this is why I've always thanked him for it. Hopefully their goal is, let's try him out and see if he can teach himself to shoot. And then if he can, I can bet on a horse that not many people are going to bet on, essentially a dark horse. So I had a lot of companies that entrusted me and essentially, quote unquote, bet on me as a dark horse, hoping that I could pull it out. And that's what the goal is now is. And again, companies don't work with you because of you podium and doing well. They want that. They bet on you, and they
it's a
bet
bonus.
on you, and they work with you because of the content you can create, because of the personality you have, and because you can essentially represent their brand well, because you can be eloquent, you can talk, or you can create good content, whatever the case may be. Not because of me going and winning. That's an added bonus, though, for sure. But yeah, I've had a lot of companies that I've been blessed to be able to work with now that have bet on me because of coming from a different industry. And being able to come here, and luckily I was able to do well, but I'm also able to create a crap ton of content in this space, whether it be from a YouTube perspective, Instagram perspective, Facebook perspective, or whatever. And so, yeah.
And it's lacking massively. I mean, in the firearms industry, it's lacking massively. It is.
Yeah.
It is laughable to the. And I talk about that a lot on my podcast. I mean, we discuss that at length.
It's very hard in this space to create content because Instagram's not going to like you. It's not going to push you up very high because you're shooting a gun. And I totally understand that. And that's why I created a separate account we're on right now, because the fact that I don't want to tank a personal one that I've worked on that's so big because of firearms. Let's just create a different one, and let's just,
absolutely.
If you want to watch firearms, great. If you don't, stay over there. I don't care. And I think that's what our society is missing, is the ability to step aside and say, I don't need to force you to do something, but if I don't want to watch it, I don't got to watch it. So.
Yeah, it's everybody's like, oh, you shouldn't do that because I don't like it. No, you have the option of, I've had people message me about, and I mean a lot in the firearms industry, talking about, hey, I don't like when you talk about this on your podcast. And I'm like, awesome, turn it off. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, obviously it's not your cup of tea, bro. Everybody can't like everything. Yeah. And they were like, oh, that's just messed up. Why can't you just not do this? And I'm like, why can't you just not watch? But it's so simple.
And it's so simple. The amount of content, but the beauty is when you come into a space like this, I saw the holes and the gaps and thought, I can fill this because I've created so much content in the CrossFit space. All I got to do is present myself to companies and say, hey, here's what I can do for you. And I'm going to shoot well. And I can tell them that now. Like, I'm going to make this a priority. It's not like I'm just going to like dick around and twiddly diddly and just like not even care. I'm going to go win this thing. And if you want to be on top of the podium, let's work together. So.
Yeah, I remember like it was yesterday. I was doing a dry fire session with Mark. We were going over, I can't remember what we were. I think we were working on transitions from rifle to pistol or something. And he just brought it up. He was like, oh, hey, I got to show you something. And I was looking at it, and he was like, what do you think? I said, I think literally if that guy can learn how to shoot a pistol halfway decent, he is going to murder everyone. And he was like, my thoughts exactly. He goes, I'm going to do it. And I'm like, dude, you'd be an idiot if you didn't. He's like, going for it all the way. And then he's like, exactly. Well, that worked out, huh? I'm like, yeah, like we talked about it at SHOT Show. And he's like, hey man, dude, that whole thing worked out. And I'm like, yeah, it worked out just fine.
So Atlas is one of the companies. Ballistic Advance was the first company to reach out to me, then Magpul, then Atlas. And I remember Atlas, and at the end of the season, I emailed them all and I made sure they understood, like, you obviously took a chance, right? You took a shot in the dark. You didn't have to take that shot. You didn't have to work with me and put up with a CrossFitter, right? But I really appreciated that they did. And hopefully these companies have fantastic individuals, and Mark is, of course, one of them, that went out of his way to work with me. And I made sure they understood that I really appreciated that they gambled. They gambled. And hopefully, year one, they gambled, and hopefully they felt that they got value from it. And hopefully in years to come, they will also continue to see, oh, this is worth it. And so, yeah, that's the goal.
I have Atlas. That's kind of my story with Atlas. So 2019, I had only been shooting in the shooting sports for about a year. And I was shooting for another gun company, but a local, boutique custom gun builder. Had no business doing that either. And called up Atlas just to say, hey, I want to buy one of your guns. And, talked to Adam like 2 or 3 times for probably what equated to about 2 hours. Talked to Mark, talked to Kat at the time. Morgan wasn't there yet. And he's like, okay, great. Let's get it working, right? Gun gets finished, and he's like, hey, you want to just shoot for us? I'm like, haha, really funny. He's like, no, for real, just shoot for us. I'm like, okay. He goes, we'll do it for a year, and if it don't work, don't work. I'm like, great. Yeah, basically. He's like, if what you're putting online isn't real,
that's
right,
definitely a different conversation.
You're gone, right? And I was like,
table that conversation and come to it later. Keep on.
Yeah. So he goes, I was like, okay, yeah, sure. And next thing you know, here we are 3 years later, and we're still going. And at SHOT Show this last year, Adam was like, you're weird. You're a weird guy. I'm like, what do you mean? He goes, you have so much value that like you can't antiquate it. Like he was like, you're valuable in these weird, awkward ways. He was like, you got a podcast, obviously that's cool, right? Your Instagram is okay. He was like, but yeah, right.
Yeah.
Well,
we can rate. I'll
okay.
send you a rating of your Instagram later. It'll probably be pretty low. So I'm just kidding. Keep going.
Yeah, exactly. I'm worried. I honestly, that's the one portion where IG, I'm starting to get better at it. But this last calendar year, I went from like 900 followers, which was awful, to now I'm at like almost 5,000. It's slow growth. Yeah. Woo. Yeah. I'm about 100,000 shy of where I want to be. No, but he goes, but you do these other things. He goes, you shoot well, obviously. He goes, but everyone seems to like you. He was like, and you're kind of an asshole. He's like, how do you pull that off? I'm like, I have no idea. He's like, you sell guns? He's like, I don't get it. I don't get you. I'm like, all right, cool. He's like, I'm going to keep you around, but I just don't get you. I'm like, awesome. So good. This is such a great conversation.
They're good people there. And everyone I've been able to work with has been very kind. And of course, I usually let them know. I'm usually very open, like, hey, you need to use me, right? You need to use me. I don't want to get into, and usually when I work with companies, and Mark and I actually had this conversation this year, we actually did a cool project together, but usually I tell them, hey, if you only expect me to post on Instagram about your product, ammo, gun, whatever your product is that you're selling, your diddly, you have wasted working with me at the end of the year. If you want to work with me, we need to do something together, some cool project, some YouTube series, some whatever the case may be. And so for Magpul, I do a lot of videos for them for the fitness side. Use me and abuse me. I obviously know fitness very well. Do not ask me to talk shooting. Although next weekend I have a video crew coming out, and we are going to be filming a lot of me explaining shooting, which you should definitely laugh at. But it's going to be from a basic perspective. It's going to be like, hey, look,
yeah,
are you like me? Do you suck at shooting? Cool. Let me talk to you about shooting. Don't ask me what this part is. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, right.
Like, let's talk about it. And so, but from Atlas perspective, Mark's idea, fantastic idea, was there's a lot of people in the shooting industry, which I started to notice when I started going to USPSA matches. A lot of guys who have a lot of natural recoil, meaning they're fat and out of shape, and couldn't run a mile. But by golly, those guys can move 5 yards and shoot like the Dickens. And so his idea was, let's create a basic at-home program that we can just give to people. And so I helped him create it, and it was a great product. And a lot of people did it. You know, like, you have 1 kettlebell and 2 dumbbells, great. That's all you need. Let's get some fitness in. And we worked through I did a lot of videos explaining what the movements were, how to do them safely and effectively, and then created a 3-month program for them. And so I've enjoyed working with companies like that who want to do projects. Because at the end of the day, like I said, if I'm just posting about your rifle or posting about your pistol, that's great, but you're wasting your opportunity to create something that will connect with somebody and make a lifetime customer.
Yeah, long form content is something people don't value enough. Long form content is, you know, you find I get a lot of questions because I have a lot of companies that I work with that it really doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? And have worked with them early, you know, like early on when I did suck at shooting. I mean, I was good. Like at my local match, I was tearing everybody's ass up, but like, and at some big matches, but like you go to a nationals and you're not even in the top 40. You know what I mean? You have no business working with some of these companies, and it's the long form stuff, you know? And I sell a lot of product, but anybody can do that, right? It's the long form content, the in-person stuff. Cause I'm at 25 to 26 majors a year, and I'm talking to everyone. So I touch a lot of people. I do teach, but I don't advertise it. I feel I'm not a good enough instructor. I'm not a JJ.
Or do you have a full-time job?
Just, you could call it that. Okay. I was in the oil and gas industry for a long time. And then now I manage a home renovation company, but that doesn't take up a lot of my time.
Perfect job then.
Like coming from oil and gas, I could basically do my job in about 20 hours in a week. It's very successfully, right? So it doesn't take up a lot of time. I basically shoot full time for the most part, and I make more money at shooting than I do at that.
Let's talk about people in the tactical or in the shooting space that enjoy putting up videos that are sped up, don't show hits and or misses. Don't you love that?
It happens so much, and people who know what to look for notice it. I have people send them to me now. I have people send me stuff and go, is this real? They question it, you know what I mean? They're newer in the space and they see something. They send it to me and goes, this sped up? And
I have a guy. Oh yeah. I have a guy that I 100%. Trust that I send it to.
It's so prevalent.
I started noticing it. I'm thinking to myself, something's off. I don't understand. Like, especially the shell leaving the gun for me was confusing. And
when it's going like this.
Is there powder on it? I was like, is it got a thruster on it? Like, what's going on here? And so I sent it to him and realized that there are people that speed up videos. And so it's frustrating because I shoot something in CrossFit. It happens in my space too. So I was impressed it still happened. It happens in a fire because I'm thinking to myself, how do you speed up shooting videos? Well, you can still do it and people figure it out. But that always was crazy to me in the fitness industry. But now you see it in the shooting industry, which just cracks me up. And my whole point, I guess, is like, goes back to what we're talking about. It's kind of a lead way into it is companies don't work with you because you can shoot really fast or shoot really well. They work with you because of who you are and the content you create and what you represent and how you can market for their company. And so just because you can put up a really fast video, whether it's real or fake, doesn't matter. But anyways, I think next week I'm going to speed up one of my videos just for kicks and giggles. Just throw it out there.
Yeah, just to do it.
If no one catches it,
why not?
Until someone does.
Yeah. My favorite thing that I see is someone, you know, they do the tight frame camera on just them and the gun, and they are, I'm talking, smashing the trigger. And then they turn the camera around and there's like 30-yard paper and steel, and I didn't hear any ringing, right? And they go up to the paper and it's like two tight alphas like this. And I'm like,
you definitely shot those.
Okay. Or they don't show the hits, or like, Yeah, it's all alphas, bro. I'm like, okay, yeah, you just shot 7 targets that were spaced 30 yards apart in the span of 2.1 seconds as a C
Oh,
class
wait,
shooter.
hold on.
Okay,
Classification shooter. I
I
think I
believe you.
am a C or D. No, C. I don't know what I am. I'm something, but I finally figured out how to look it up. Like I don't know, like a month ago. And
C is where I
yeah,
started when I first
C
classified. I was a C.
just crushing it, you know.
Hey man, that shit
Oh,
doesn't matter as much as you think. I know some A class guys. So it's funny. I shoot so many matches. I see guys roll in, and I'll get a lot of guys jump on squads with me because
sure.
they're either a listener of the podcast or what have you. And I look and I'm like, oh, dope, dude. We got like 7 open GMs in
Paper
this squad.
GMs,
This
is
is
that
going
what
to
you
be a
call them?
fucking heater.
Or,
Yeah. And I'm getting pumped because I love that shit. When we're going back and forth and duking it out and we're pushing each other and talking shit, like that's my jam. Like that's where I'm comfortable. And then when it's like me and one other guy now pushing each other, and then 6 guys who are trying to shoot our same stage plan at our same pace, dropping mics and just biffing the stage. And I'm just like, Jesus. I mean, they're good guys. Don't get me wrong, but I'm like, God, I got so excited thinking it was going to be such a deep field.
Absolutely. And we don't see it much in the tactical game space, but it is always nice that you have to show up. Like, you got to show up and compete when you show up there. You know, you can throw a 200-pound sandbag over your back all the time, and it's only got 150 pounds of sand in it all day long and say it's 200. But when you show up and you got to pick up that sandbag or you got to make that shot, that's when it really matters. And so it's been lovely that we have a great equalizer. So people spend too much time worrying about what they see on social media. But when you have to show up, or we have some people that just don't show up sometimes, right? And that's CrossFit too. They just don't show up and are not game day players. And it's like, you don't look like it on social media. So
I call those Brad Castles. Google Brad Castle videos. It's a dude who was like huge in the fitness industry back in like the mid 2000s. He would post videos of him and keep in mind, he's like 240 pounds. He's jacked. Don't get me wrong, juiced to the gills. But he'd post a video of him inclining like 585 for 10 reps. And then he would go to these fitness shows and somebody's like, all right, bro, we got a bench right here with 315. Why don't you pump that for 10 reps? And you,
don't put down fake.
You know what I mean? It's just like, come on, man.
So I've been using quite a bit for my tactical games training, you know. But
yeah, man. You gotta do what you gotta do. I use fake bullets. It is what it is. No, but yeah, you get the sped up videos, man. A couple people have posted about it, like Range Panda, Eric Steiner. He's a super good guy. He makes some cool products for. I gotta send you, like, he makes these optic covers, stuff like this. These really nice, well done 3D printed optic covers,
we can't run red
and a few other little things like that.
The division I'm in tactical games, not yet.
So you run stuff like this.
Yeah, it's all blacked out, bro.
Hey, whoa. Oh, come on, man. You don't like the chrome with the blue?
What is that? Is that the Artemis? What is that? Artemis. So I run.
Yeah,
I have
that's Artemis.
Chrome Hyperion, and then an all blacked out blue trigger Hyperion. Which love them both. Yeah, no. So I don't.
Do you have a gold one?
V2
yeah.
or V1?
That's a V1. This is my V2.
Why don't you send one of those to me, bro? I will send one of those to me right now. So,
I have another V1 somewhere around here.
Look, I didn't ask nothing from you other than just your friendship. So I will send you my FFL's address. Feel free to push that my direction. I actually called up Mark. So we run irons only for elite. They have a division for optics on their pistols for this year, because a lot of guys who are LEO or whatever, they don't want to take it off and then come back. If they're going to use it in the line of duty, they should compete with it. And so it was a really smart move on the tactical games part, which I loved. The weight's a little bit less than elite, so I'm not going to, and I don't have a red dot anyways. So I imagine not this year, maybe next year, maybe the year after, we'll probably allow red dots in the elite division. And so I told Mark, I said, Mark, when they allow red dots, I am shooting a chaos in the tackle game. It's going to be complete overkill, but I'm doing it. And he's like, he goes,
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
How heavy the pistol is. Just let me shoot the pistol, dude. Like,
have you seen how fucking strong I am? I can handle a 52-ounce chaos.
And I put it over yoke, Mark. Do you think I care about a freaking 4-pound pistol? Send it to me, bro. We're going to shoot it. So that's what I'm going to make sure he does. But, yeah, when we definitely shoot. I was actually talking to he's probably not on, still listening. If he is, it's impressive. Sal Hernandez is one of our, he's been a podium guy. He actually won one of the first events this year for tactical games. Great shooter, San Antonio SWAT, fantastic individual. And I was actually teaching at the camp this past week in Austin for tactical games. And so I can go there and learn alongside everyone else. And so he shoots a red dot. And I actually asked him that. I said, hey, man, you only shoot iron sights with me. So why do you practice with a red dot? That to me makes zero sense, honestly, in general. And he explained it to me and actually made a lot of sense. He's like, hey, when I practice with a red dot, I can see as I'm dry firing, as I'm shooting my sight picture. Whereas the iron sights, I can't. He goes, I will actually be a much better iron sight shooter when I switch because of me practicing on a red dot. And it blew my mind because I'm thinking, that's stupid. If you're not going to shoot it, why would you even practice with it? And so I took that and I was like, well, going to have to get a red dot pistol. Going to have to call up Mark and be like, yo, bro, what do you got available? We need to get a red dot sent my way so we can actually start practicing with it. Probably not shooting with it, but at least dry firing with it. Yeah.
That's a very factual deal. When I switched to open from limited, when I went back to irons, I was a significantly better iron sight shooter. Just because of my visual adaptiveness. The way your vision has to adapt so fast and when you're shooting a red dot that when you go back to iron sights, it is night and day different.
And I'm going to you're going to send me one of those pistols until Mark sends you one, and we're going to figure it out from there. But yeah, I've heard that at least from one guy, and I was like, at first I was like, that sounds stupid. But then I asked a couple different people to make sure, and they all said the same thing, and I'm like, great. So here we are. I mean, from my perspective, I'm still learning great sight picture, great sight alignment, and iron sight. So I still need to learn that really well. And there's no reason for me to jump ahead to the next stage before I can finalize iron sights. But at some point,
there's a lot more ground to cover with iron sights before you can really conceptually benefit from going to a red dot.
At some point, I'll probably end up throwing an iron on. Actually, the Hyperions you can. I'll have to go grab another pistol and throw an iron or a red dot on there and then shoot it in an effort to make me a better iron sight shooter. But anyways, that's where we're at now. So
yeah, that's awesome. Have you so what's your dry fire structure like? Do you have a plan you're following from somebody, or how's that working?
I actually like to read a lot of Star Wars books at night, but when I'm not reading Star Wars books, I'm a nerd, then I will read something that will benefit me. And I have read as many books as I can find on dry fire that are not just regurgitation of the same information. So a lot of anything from Ben Stoker, anything from anybody in this space, I've essentially read. Great material out there. And I will take, obviously what they're teaching is important. I don't need to go out and shoot dry fire USPSA stages, although that does benefit me still, but I don't need to focus entirely on that. And so I have to take it and kind of mix and match to what fits me. And so my dry fire structure, I will show up in the barn and throw just one IPSC out there, whatever. And here we go, CrossFit. I will work top down because I work top down when I lift. So top down for the listeners is if I want to warm up for a snatch, I will work top down, meaning I will first work the overhead squat. I will then work my catch position. I will then work the pull from my muscle position or a high hang. I will then work down to the floor, top down. So when I get to the floor and I do the full movement, it feels very clean. So I work top down when I work pistol, and I primarily only practice pistol because my personal belief, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, is if I am a good pistol shooter, it will carry over to rifle. There are some things I need to work in a rifle that are still important, but working trigger manipulation on a pistol has made me a significantly better rifle shooter. I don't spend a lot of time working rifle trigger pull. I will do a lot of holds, positional work, barrier, entry, and exit, but for a lot of pistol. And so a lot of the pistol, like I mentioned, is top down. I will work a lot of, hey, I'm just going to sit here and pull this trigger. Hey, I'm going to press out. Hey, I'm going to now draw. And then I'll essentially work backwards, top down, back to my holster. So
that's awesome. Yeah, I've got some literature, some deep, dark dive, not common, won't find it on Google literature. I'll send you.
I will show it to no one. Not a single soul. when I go learn from people like JJ or Ernest or any of the guys in that sport, I will put out some of the information, but what's the point? I'm not going to make sure you get a benefit from it because you didn't show up to JJ's class. I'm not going to talk about what AC
you didn't pay for it.
Talk about any of these drills I can do. That's a waste of my freaking time. Like,
that shit rolls in my head still to this day.
All the time, like I'm gonna keep that to myself. But
Yep.
But absolutely, you sent it my way. Yeah, I'm a big reader, and I probably have dry fire has maybe infinitely better. But the only way I was able to get better at dry fire was learning how to dry fire. And learning how the dry fire is not, because at first I thought I'm just showing up and pulling my trigger over and over and over again. That's stupid, right? And learning how to dry fire has made me a better shooter in the long run, transitive property, whereby reading these books to learn how to dry fire has made me a better shooter overall. So reading in general has made me better because reading made me better dry fire made me a better shooter. So.
Yeah. There's dry fire is anybody wanting to get into any shooting sports. Dry fire is so key, and that's most sports. Dry fire in most
except for shooting a bow,
super important. How many times? Yeah, right.
They told me not to do that.
Can't really dry fire that. Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot. Like Jay Beal. I'm gonna send you Jay Beal's profile. You want to see how to dry fire? That guy dry fires better than anyone I've ever seen. And some of the stuff he does when you sit down, and he's the type of guy you can message him, hey, why are you doing this? And he's gonna send you a paragraph and explain it in perfect detail, and it's gonna make perfect sense. He's a little gem that people don't take advantage of. But the guy he went to nationals and did extremely well. Extremely well. And he shot
like 2,000 rounds a year or something like that.
Maybe 100. No, like 100 rounds in practice. And he dry fired 99.8% of the time. And I think he was in like the top 5 or top 10 or something like that. He just crushed it. And people are like, wait, you shot 100 rounds? He's like, yeah, I get done dry firing. Yeah, he's like, I get done with my dry fire, for the month, and then right at the end, whenever I am about to go to a match, I walk outside, I shoot 5 rounds, make sure my gun's zero, and I go.
Obviously, they can tell you what the best lifter is by body weight. They need to figure out a way to standardize how many rounds you shot during the year, and then have an award for who's the best shooter this year that shot the least amount of rounds. like who's the best lifter that doesn't weigh the most? Kind of very similar concept. Yeah. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, I would not win that trophy. I shoot a lot, but I'm like the way my body works and the way my mind works. I'm on a fucking mission. Like anything and everything that is going to make me get to where I want to get to is what I'm doing. That's where I brought back the fitness side. It was last year. I feel like the shooting portion of my game was as good as anyone. Just if you look at the shooting portion. But where I was losing
was everything that
to JJ Max, Christian.
I can shoot the same as everyone else, but how I enter, exit, how I move between positions is what makes him win.
Even the movement, I feel like my movement is so crisp and so clean, and I get a lot of compliments even from JJ sometimes. Like, that was clean. The way you did that was clean. But the explosion, and we're talking, it's milliseconds that add up to seconds over the course of a match, right? The fitness side of it was so awful. It was so awful. And I can equate that to my wife. I was like, I just don't understand. I was reviewing the hours and hours and hours of video. Me and them, like, just comparing, and my wife goes, well, you are fatter than them. I'm like, you know what?
So
you might be onto something.
Show up your first tactical
you
game
might be onto something.
Skirmish. You got to show up the one with me and just rock it with me. Just come hang out. I'll make sure you're in my squad. We'll have a freaking blast.
I'm down, dude. Let me know. Send me your schedule, and I will make it to one of them.
Well, I mean, this is way too soon. I'll be the one in South Carolina at Sawmill the end of this month. It's like 2 weeks. And then I will be in Waxahachie end of May. And then I won't be in anything till August because I will be in the middle of the CrossFit game season. I have a teenage athlete who I coach, and so I'm focusing on her. So
she's a monster.
A lot of guys in the tactical game space, not a lot of them, just some guys in general, complain because things are heavy. Things are getting heavier. This is turning into CrossFit. It's not turning into CrossFit. If you think it's turning into CrossFit, you obviously don't know what the CrossFit Games is because it's nothing close to that. And they'll complain, this is heavy, that's heavy, this yoke is heavy. And I remember somebody said that one time in a group, like, that yoke's pretty heavy. And I remember I probably embarrassed them, and I meant to, I literally said, that is less than what the females lift at the CrossFit Games. Like, we have females. I have a 15-year-old girl who can lift that yoke and move it faster than you. I was like, if you're complaining about that weight, you are pathetic. Like, this is sad. Like, that is not a heavy yoke. And he didn't complain. He didn't complain the rest of the day. But yeah, she's people don't realize, like, again, strength is relative, right? My shooting capability, if I think that stage or that shot is hard to make, it's relative to who I am. And I understand that. So when I might say, well, it was a really hard shot to make, you might be like, no. Like, that was pretty easy. But it's relative, and I get that. But, like, you have to understand the grand scheme of things. It's not that heavy. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I coming from a powerlifting background, heavy is all relative. I've lifted some heavy shit in my day, and I've also seen people lift much heavier shit. So yeah, I watched a kid break the 185 pound world deadlift 18 and under world record. He deadlifted 795 unsuited at 185 pounds. Stood there and watched it. Was just like from like 15 feet away. We're at the same meet, and when he said, I'm going for the world record, I was like, I'm going to come watch that shit. I watched him pull it and thought, get the fuck out of here. I started doing the calculations of weight to body mass and was like, oh my God, I'm a piece of shit. I suck at this. I'm so weak. Like, I may be able to lift near that weight, but I'm also 220.
Yeah.
Like, what are we doing? So the skill and everything is relative. So I'm going to go to a tactical games, and I am going to get my shit pushed in on the fitness side, but I will be fine on the marksmanship side. And that's all I'm telling myself. That's all I'm telling myself.
I said the same thing. I am going to suck at the shooting, but by golly, I'm going to make them look stupid at fitness. And I did that. Yep. But yeah, you need to go look at the calendar. They have a calendar on their website. Go look at the calendar. Go pick one. As long as it is not between June and July, I can usually make it. Pick one like later in the year, like, August, September, or whatever. And go pick one, and I will ensure that I am there because it'll give me enough time to pick it. I'm going to go to all of them at that time anyways. Where you live at? Oh, okay. So, yeah,
I live in Texas.
Pick one. And I will make sure I'm there, and I'll make sure to call them ahead of time and be like, put us in the same heat so that I can talk loads of trash in the middle of the event. I'll be like, you suck!
I feel like at some point I'm gonna be doubled over puking, and you're gonna be laughing with a sandbag while running, and just be like, pussy.
I definitely got. There are some good guys in the sport, and they understand that, like, I'm going to talk some friendly trash in the middle of the competition because I'm not going to have a really high heart rate because I have to keep it low because the shooting for me is very difficult. But if you show up, I'll absolutely talk trash. You suck, kid!
Oh, Dude, that's my game. That's my game. You don't understand. I get a lot of people who love shooting with me because I talk so much shit and we destroy each other. And then I've had people shoot on a squad where they're like, "Do you not like those people?" And I'm like, "No, they're like really good friends of mine." Well, Jesus Christ! And like, well, you don't get it.
I mean,
you don't understand.
I'm not gonna hold it up. Like, I'll talk trash and I'll still maybe get last, but I'll still enjoy talking trash during the opportunity. But yeah, absolutely.
Oh yeah. The AMU shooting team said run more. Yeah, that is definitely going to have to be key. Yeah, I am. Trust me. I'm gonna pick that tactical games, and then my training right now. I'm just trying to lose weight and get more fit. That is going to have to be some serious training.
Hey man, like, what should I do for tactical games? The first thing I tell them is just go freaking sign up for it, because half the people will like put it off, and then a year goes by and they ain't never done it. And then usually the best piece of advice I give to people, which you've puked 3 times doing it, is go join a CrossFit gym. Like, just go gym in general. It doesn't have to be CrossFit. It can be any gym. I don't really care. But having someone tell you what to do, and you can obviously scale the movements. Like, we're not going to do pull-ups, we're not going to do muscle-ups, we're not going to do stupid gymnastics movements like that. Although having a gymnastics background is very helpful to learn how to move in time and space. But, and you can scale things like, hey, instead of doing a barbell, I'm going to do a fat bar. Instead of doing a front squat, I'm going to put a sandbag in the stress carry position. You can obviously scale a lot of options for it. But usually the best piece of advice I give to someone who wants to go try one is go join a gym, and they will force you to get outside your comfort zone. When you show up, a lot of people who do very decent at the fitness inside of tactical games are usually CrossFitters.
Yeah, I've been working 3 days a week with a very savage personal trainer who does not give a flying fuck at a rolling donut how I'm feeling during the workout. He just says, "You will finish this, or I will kill you." And I'm like, I will be like, "You realize that I could definitely kill you faster than you can kill me, but I get where you're going with this." And I post all the time. Like, he'll catch me, like, we'll finish doing, it's like, we'll do a full leg workout. I mean, a deep, like, working on eccentric machines on harnesses, and then a deep leg workout. And then he'll go, "Okay, great. Now go take these 50-pound dumbbells and lunge the 60-yard turf. And then there's a sled at the end, and you're going to push that back." And I'm like, "You dick." And he'll catch me when I'm just done. I finish and I just fall out. And I'm just like, "Okay, I'm just going to lay here for a minute." And he'll walk by giggling and video. Yeah.
Well, I mean,
like, you're such a dick.
Like, usually people join a CrossFit gym, but essentially any kind of fitness is great. Like, obviously, hot yoga isn't going to get it for you, and Zumba. But, yeah, no.
You don't want to be able to lift your back?
But joining a gym like that or personal trainer is a fantastic way to get in shape and to show up. And I think one thing that I hope to bring to this space being the shooting industry, is the importance and imperativeness of being in shape. And it will make you such a better shooter, being able to get into positions quicker, honestly, just to get into positions. How many people I've seen that are out of shape that just can't get into a good position, whether it be a squat to shoot through a barrier or whatever, is crazy to me. And hopefully in my time in this space, I will stress the importance of being healthy. Is important to becoming a better shooter. I mean, look at the top shooters in this space. Most of them are in pretty good shape. JJ is a grip prime. Although I spent so much time in his class making fun of his stupid arm workouts. I was like, bro, freaking squat for a change. Like just squat. I mean, dude.
Biceps the size of Texas, calves the size of spaghetti.
Worthless. We made fun of each other so bad. Although when it came time to perform for shooting, obviously I looked like trash and I couldn't slow down. But like, it was great hanging out with him. So
I caught him a couple times during the class. He was doing some demos and shit, and I see him flexing his biceps. I see him really like dig it in, and then he'll look at me and wink. And I'm just like, "Man, fuck you." He's so mean, dude. He'll be like, "I got a good pump going. You want to see it?" I'm like, "Not really, dude. Not at all." And he'll stand there when he poses for pictures. Every time you see him take a picture, he turns, he gets that bicep and tricep just right, does the little pose, sucks in a little bit, gets that trap flexed out, and then he's like,
look, he knows how to create good content.
Just see it. How long? I asked him one time, I said, how long did you practice that in the mirror before you decided that's how you're going to look in
Worth
every
it?
picture?
Worth it? It's like a doctor who practices their signature
Oh, yeah.
because it's important
Oh, yeah.
for them or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. The other guy's just like, whoosh, get the hell out of my office. No, but yeah, I see it a lot, man. You see shooters who are very, very talented behind the gun. I mean, very talented. But because of their fitness level, they're at a significant disadvantage. Now they've learned to, and they'll get into the top 30, top 20, and they've learned to just make it work, I would say, but they're at a significant disadvantage in moving forward. And you know, I'll never name any of the guys, but I've had them ask me, hey, have you noticed a difference in your shooting since you've taken the journey of getting back in shape? And I'm like, yes, removing 20 excess pounds from my body made a massive difference in how fast I can move, how explosive I can be. And honestly, just by the end of a 12 or 16 stage day, I'm ready to go another 16 now.
Yeah,
like I'm not tired at all.
To like the dry fire conversation, and that is, try it for a month, right? Give it a shot for a month. At the end of the month, if you don't feel better because you change, and again, you got to make sure you're not just working out. You got to change what you're eating to a degree too. And so at the end of the month, if you still feel like trash, fine. You know, go back to being you. But I promise you at the end of the month, just like dry fire, you might even be 2 weeks into it and realize I feel better, you know, look good, feel good, play good. I feel better, I function better, I play better. And people will realize how important it is in the long run, I think, if you just by giving it a month of time to try it.
Yep. Takes 21 days to develop a new habit. That's all you got to do.
Do it for 9 more days.
So do it for 30. Yeah. Do it for 9 more days just to be sure. Yeah, dude, I'm super pumped to see just, you know, your journey through the sport going forward. I think one, I'm excited for you to like probably go 3, 4, 5 years deep in just dominating tactical games. Until you get bored with it and decide you want to be a professional boxer or some shit.
To be honest, in the shooting industry, what I would love to do is the goal is to win the thing for as long as I can in this sport. Yeah, but
I think it's inevitable
to be able to actually get how do I define that? Good, if not great, at shooting in general and competing in shooting, whether it be a 2-gun. I probably would never get into 3-gun too much. It's too much manipulation for me. But
too much bullshit. I don't feel like I have a hard enough time flying with all the shit that I got to bring for one gun.
But getting good to great at shooting enough that is respectable to be able to come from non-shooting and go and joining a shooting industry, that to me would be my inevitable goal. Because if I can do that, then if I can become good, if not great at shooting, then I'm already going to win the tactical games because I already have the fitness background. So I don't care about that anymore. Like that's icing on the cake, but I want to be good at not great at shooting. So that's the goal.
Yeah. I think so here's the thing. Here's how I would antiquate that. And I might get some shit from shooting guys because they're not going to like this statement, but it's my opinion. If they don't like it, they can see it. Go for it. Honestly, I'm gonna clickbait this statement. So in my opinion, it would be harder for me to get to the level to qualify for a CrossFit Games and be halfway decent than it is gonna be for you to get to a point where you could top 50 at a USPSA Nationals.
I thought you were going to say something different that I was going to disagree with. I thought you were going to say to get to your level of fitness, it will be harder, which I also somewhat agree with. It's a little bit easier, but without a doubt, there is no absolute freaking way someone is a top USPSA shooter, a decent good, I don't even care who you are, is going to say, I'm going to go to the CrossFit Games and make it. I'd pay you $500. There ain't no more than that. There's no way in hell. But to come from a space of no shooting and having, number one, because it's how your body's built. Number two, because you already might be older and making the CrossFit Games is a young man's sport and it requires so much time a little bit of genetics, right? We are all
It's a lot of genetics,
yes, we are 5'7",
animal
195
instinct
across the board. That I am 5'7", 195. There is, of course, statistical outliers, but that is what we are. And so you will not see someone go into that space from this space. Going from the CrossFit space and coming here, not to poo-poo on shooting sports, but it is a lot easier to learn how to manipulate and move with a firearm than it is to learn the bajillion different things I have to learn to be good at CrossFit. The fact of the matter. Now,
Yep.
It is still impressive. It is still amazing. And I will never get to where any of these guys are at. But it is a little bit easier.
Yeah. I think the only exception would be to get to the level of JJ, a Max, a Christian Seiler, an Eric Gaffel. But to get to like a top 50 nationals placement, I mean, in my opinion, kind of not super duper. I did it. Like I went from never shooting a match to 2.5 years later. I'm like, okay, this is to the point where I'm like, all right, I'm that guy. Right. And I come from a fitness background, but like two different levels, right? There's levels to that. Like I came from this level of fitness background. You came from obviously this level of fitness background. So a little subtle bicep flex there. What's up?
Right. Like, and again, I'm not comparing myself, and nor will I ever, because I did not start at an early age, nor will I ever become a world-class shooter known for shooting. And that's not my goal. I don't need to. I'm never going to become known as, Jacob Hepner, he's a world-class shooter. No. But, can I be known as, hey, Jacob's a great shooter and he learned over a short time period? Sure, absolutely.
Yeah. You could definitely walk in a room and people go, hey man, that guy's a bad motherfucker with a handgun.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or a rifle or whatever.
Rubber band gun.
Yeah, BB gun, air rifle, slingshot, whatever.
Yeah, for
those little what are those salt guns for flies? Whatever you want to do.
Though, so.
Dude, my wife threw mine away. I shot too many of our friends.
What they are pretty much used for, pretty much. So.
Dude, I think I've killed maybe 50 or 60 flies with it. I have shot all of our friends a lot. That's when I found out. So when I found out, it didn't feel good, but it wasn't like super bad. I shot the top of my foot when I first got it, and I was just like, oh, damn, that kind of hurts. And I'm like, oh, it goes away quick. I'm like, hey, babe, check this out. And I shot her in the top of her foot, and she was like, oh, so you chose death today. That's what you did? I'm like, oh, okay. I'm just gonna stick to shooting my buddies. No, but yeah, I'm excited to see your journey, man. I think it's gonna be super awesome. It's already been cool to watch, and I am gonna go tonight and look at which tactical games I'm gonna go to, and then I'm just gonna book it. And
I haven't booked mine yet. There's one in Waxahachie the end of May.
Well, now I'm gonna tell you which one, and then which couple I'm gonna choose from, and then you tell me which one you want to go to, and then we'll book it up. And once it's signed up, I mean, there's no going back.
I cook for myself. I'm a CrossFitter, meaning I eat good food and I do not go out to fast food. So if you come hang out with me, we'll get an Airbnb and I will cook breakfast for you every morning. I usually, whoever stays in my Airbnb, I cook breakfast usually.
Dude, I'm so down with that because I Airbnb every match because I have a core group of guys. We go to every match and we just decided, hey, dude, instead of spending all this money on hotels, why don't we Airbnb everywhere? Yeah, dude. So I usually end up doing some of the cooking if there is cooking involved.
You'll have to let me,
so
if you want to
it'll be a nice little change of pace.
I will only run in the elite division unless you are like, yo, I'll run tactical because it's a little bit less fitness, right? A little bit easier fitness. Then I could do that. Or the other one is intermediate, which is like a scaled kind of fitness.
Listen, my father told me something a long time ago. Son, don't half-ass two things, whole-ass one thing. Okay? So, mama didn't raise no bitch. I'm in.
You got my full respect, that's for sure. So, you'll have fun. There are some guys that
I'm either gonna
show up.
I'm gonna
guys and girls that have no business being in that division. And in my mind, as long as you can roll into a gym and you're already doing some fitness and you could pick up a 150-pound sandbag, you are golden in my mind. So you're fine.
I
It's
may
fine.
limp across that finish line, dragging a part of my body, but I'll get there.
You're going to be completely fine. But when we're doing like a shooting only stage, you can talk so much trash on me, but like, you're trash, kid. Like, just yell.
Oh, if there's a shooting only portion, I'm going to walk up and say, so which one of you motherfuckers is coming in second?
So the best part is, this is actually a funny story. I had a lot of guys, not a lot of guys. There were some people who complained last year that the tactical games, because I was obviously new to the sport. And of course, when a person like me comes into the tactical games, it is a huge benefit of the tactical games because a lot of CrossFitters will follow me. It's, of course, just a given point. I don't know who they were. I don't really care. There's trolls in everyone's life. But people complained that the tactical games tried to program nationals last year in an effort to make sure that I could podium because it benefits them for people to see a CrossFitter on the podium, whether it's first, second, or third, doesn't matter. Because now it will pull other CrossFitters in, right? So they were like, they made the shooting easier or whatever the case may be. So there we run static, usually USPSA stages as aggregates during the day that you can go shoot whenever you want. And one of them, I don't even remember which one it was. It was like a target at 7, target at 10, IPSC at 7. They actually shoot IDPA, so that's IDPA at 7, IDPA at 10, IDPA at 15. And it was, I don't even remember how it was, like rifle, pistol, doesn't matter. And at the end of the competition, I had actually shot the fastest time on that stage out of everyone. Male, female, across every division, masters, elite, whatever. And I remember posting, exactly. I remember posting.
So how can they say that?
Trap. I shot better than everyone here. So go pound sand, go do whatever you want to do to yourself. But you can absolutely show up and give your best shot to beat me, but I doubt it's probably going to happen in the shooting only. It's definitely going to happen.
Listen. Whenever there's a 250-pound sandbag in front of me, I'm going to look over to you and I'm going to go, this is your game. But when there's just targets in front of me, I'm going to look at you and I'm going to wink at you and I might shoot a couple of them while staring into your eyes.
Yeah. When you show up, I'm definitely going to talk trash. It's going to be fun for sure. But yeah, definitely go back tonight, pick one. We'll grab an Airbnb and we'll go yank one. We'll have a blast. I'll definitely convince Mark to show up because Mark will have a videographer show up. So I'll definitely have Mark show up. That way Mark gets some fantastic content of you looking like a baby back, trying to pick something up, And then, but he'll make
and I'm all about it.
Don't look bad shooting. It's only looking bad in the fitness.
Yeah. It's going to be when I'm like doubled over, like already failed at lifting the sandbag over a yoke after running 2 miles. And he's going to be like, hey, make sure you get that. Make sure you get that. I want to see the pain. Hey, zoom in on that tear.
Videographer, I'm going to slip him like $100 or whatever he needs to be like, yo, make sure you get some shots of him looking like complete trash. And then don't post them. Send them to me for a rainy day.
Yeah. Hey, dude, trust me. Listen, you have no idea the level of shit talk. I have a bobblehead of a buddy in BDSM gear with a female's body, but his head that says Trevor's bitch on the bottom of it. Okay, there's no level to the amount of shit talking that I'm capable of.
16, I was good throughout most of my CrossFit career, but that was a prime year for me. One of my prime years. And we go to a regionals. Essentially, you go to an event. You're invited to a regionals, depending on your open placement. For regionals, you go to the games. The top 5 go to games. And so I found everybody's address I competed with that was like top 10 from the year before. And I printed off a postcard and sent them a postcard and signed it with a letter to them saying, I hope you're ready to get second this year, to every single person. Just every single person. And the best part is, I know they all got it, but none of them put it on Instagram. And I was like, oh, you guys are all going to get killed. I ended up taking second I took
That's
second that year
so
to a good
gangster.
buddy of mine now. But I enjoy the trash talk. It is fantastic. So.
Oh, that would have been the first thing I did. Like, if I opened that postcard, I'd be like,
So,
"Oh, I'm going
the
live
best part
right
is,
now."
like, we have some guys in the space that had played collegiate sports. And when you play collegiate sport, you have a mentality, or a professional sport, you have a mentality that comes with it where you understand how people play the game. And there's obviously a mental aspect to every sport you play, especially individual sports. And so when I was doing CrossFit and competing, there was obviously a mental game to it where in the back room, when you warm up to go compete and you're in a heat with a bunch of guys, you're warming up to compete to the weight or whatever, but you're also playing a mental game with guys around you. And so us veterans in there would know that. And we would say certain things. They would ask certain questions to rookies. And you could essentially burn their whole workout to the ground by saying certain things. Hey, Jake, how do you think you're going to approach this workout? Oh, yeah, I'm probably going to go unbroken on this. It'll be pretty easy. And then they're thinking, oh, yeah, I gotta go do that too. And you have zero plans of doing that. And they go out there and turn and burn and just blow up. And so it's actually been enjoyable in the tackle game space. I won't name names, but enjoying the tackle game space. But you can play mental games with people absolutely already. And it is fantastic because some people don't have the ability to see that. Some of them do, and some of them will tell me, and they will say, hey, I know what you're doing. I played a collegiate sport. I'm not getting pulled. And I appreciate it. I'm like, hey, man, that's good. You already know what I'm doing. Some people don't, and I'm okay with that.
Oh, yeah.
But like one good example where I got pulled in is last year they put me in the first one I went to, they put me in the lane next to the guy that ended up winning at Nationals last year when I went to, Jared Halbert. And they put me in the lane next to him for various reasons. And one of them was when he goes and shoots, you get sucked into somebody else's cadence. And I got sucked into his cadence and just got mauled day one. Like, just got sucked into his cadence thinking I have to win this workout and just got trashed.
So I have to shoot this fast. I have to make sure that it sounds like this. I have to approach it like this, everything.
But yeah, that's just an example of me getting pulled into someone else's trash talking cadence. So
yeah, it's pretty interesting. So mental games and shooting, people don't realize how much it is. Yeah. There's a lot. And one of the best at it I have ever seen is JJ. Christian Seiler is really good at it too. He's really, really, really good at it. But I've shot with JJ enough, and he does it to me quite a bit. Like when we shoot together, I know the mind games, and I'll play them back, and we'll see who can trap who. But like we'll be walking a stage, and he's like, I think I'm gonna do this. I think I can make that shot, and I'm like, the fuck, no, you can't, you know. But then in my head, I'm like, this is JJ Ricazzi. He's been shooting professionally for like 30 years. He might be able to make that shot. You know what? He probably can make that shot. Fuck, man, if he makes that shot. If he's able to do that, if he's able to hit that mini popper from 45 yards on a dead move, he's going to crush me on this stage by at least 11 or 12 points, and I can't afford to lose that. So you know what? I'm going to do it first. I'm going to take the shot. I shoot it, and then he goes, you know what, man? That just wasn't worth it. Son of a bitch. But then sometimes he'll say stuff like that, and he'll do it. If he's before me and he says some shit like that, I've seen him hit a mini popper on the move at 35 yards. And then me be like, all right, I guess I'm trying to shoot a mini popper at 35 yards on a move. I guess that's just kind of what it is. And to give people perspective, that's like a 4-inch scoring zone of steel on the move at 40 some odd yards at a dead sprint. You're taking, like, you're coming out of a position and you're just going bing and trying to leave. Like, if you hit it, you hit it. If you don't, you don't. You just tag it when you get closer. But, and he'll hit shit like that and then look at me and just start laughing. I'm like, dude, you know what? You son of a bitch. But those mind games, that happens all the time, dude. Christian does them a different way. So Christian will watch somebody shoot a stage and he'll go, yeah, he left about a second and a half out there. And you're like, what? And he'll start breaking down where that guy left time. And you're like, You're bullshitting. And then he'll go and he'll pick up that time. And you're like, God damn it. But he'll say it loud where everybody can hear it, except for that guy, but he'll say it loud. So everybody's thinking, I don't think I can shoot it that fast. And this guy's going to pick up a second and a half on that guy. Shit.
Yeah,
Now I
it
got
is
to go
enjoyable that
really
we can
fast.
talk trash in it,
right?
for sure, and I'm thankful for it. I mean, not talk trash, but also essentially just play mind games with people, which has been absolutely enjoyable. So,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. I'm excited to shoot in tactical games. Also nervous, but you know what? I'm going to show up, and I'm going to get my ass kicked, and it's going to be awesome. But, hey, I'm going to win the shooting portion. That's the
obviously the
important
level
part.
shooter you are, and you show up and you have a base level of fitness, and you can get by with some things. Yeah, you might not be the fastest runner there, pick up the heaviest sandbag. You will easily be 80th percentile, just a given.
How much running is
Usually
there?
there's usually one longer running event. So, we start heats of 5, but if we will waterfall, we shoot paper mostly. But when we waterfall, we shoot steel because I can't shoot steel next to you, which is a hit on yours and mine. And so usually it will be like, hey, we got a 2-minute par time. We're shooting pistol, steel, rifle, long range. And then your par time hits, or when you clear your steel, you're doing the clearing procedure on both your pistol and rifle, and then you're taking off for a run, and then you're running for whatever. We've ran... It's different per event. It depends on the range, what they have available for us to run. But the furthest I think we ran last year was like 6 miles at one time. And that was the only running event we had at once.
6 miles at once? Oh, fuck.
Yeah.
I haven't ran 6 miles since I was in college.
But then you're done,
this is not good.
That's the only running event we really had. But we've ran 2 miles, 3 miles, 6 miles, but we never really have 2 running events. Because you got to figure, like, similar to CrossFit, I can't have multiple running events because then my testing modality is going to favor a longer distance runner. Like, I have to make sure that it's evenly weighted across the board. It's heavy, it's long, it's short, it's fast, it's whatever the case may be. You have to make sure it's even across the board.
And you gotta wear a
but it's a 15-pound vest. Right? That's a girl's. Yeah, it's girls' weight in CrossFit.
Shit,
like
yeah.
I said that in the beginning, kind of irritated people. We're used to 20 or 30 pounds.
Dude, my plate carrier weighs probably 30 fucking pounds. I'm just gonna run with that. They're level 4. They're level 4 plates. They'll be fine.
I don't have ballistically rated plates. Just get steel. I think mine's 18 because I couldn't get to 15. It's slick, so it should be 15 pounds slick. But when you get there, they check your muzzle devices, check your rifle to make sure you're not running something you can't run, and they weigh your vest.
I need to look into all the rules.
Just call me.
I don't want to get
you. You can spend 30 minutes. You can spend 3 hours reading and miss something, or you can just call me and I can tell you what you can and can't run, and you don't have to read everything. It's just a lot easier. Yeah.
Yeah, it sounds like a plan. Listen, I still haven't read the whole USPSA
I almost got
rulebook.
kicked
I've been
out
doing
the
that shit
first
for
one
3.5
I
years.
did because I didn't understand what load, make, ready meant. Dude, I'm like, bro, it's my first one. If you're going to kick me out of my first one, I'm never going to come back ever again because that's just a bad experience. So just let it slide, bro. I don't even.
Yeah, come on, man. Yeah, you just got to let it happen sometimes. As long as it wasn't crazy unsafe,
you just let it slide. Make ready? I'm like, I don't even know what that even means. I was standing in the shooting box. I was like, I don't even know what that means. He's like, I don't think I did, but I'm going to let you slide. I'm like, if you don't even know, then why the hell are you coming at me, bro? Like, you get a lot of, it reminds me of a lot of HOA Karens sometimes where it's like people who have power are going to abuse it. And I'm like, bruh, you literally hate your job. You're overweight. You go home and you're pissed. So you come here and take it out on me. And I don't even know what I'm doing. So give it a break.
Yeah. There's quite a bit of that. But yeah, man, like I said, I'm pumped to see where you go with this. I'm excited to get beaten by you in tactical games, but then also I'm going to bring you over to USPSA match and then I'll fuck you up over there. So we'll be even. But yeah, Well, dude, this was incredible. I know it's getting dark on your end, and we've been going for 2.5 hours. I don't
Yeah,
know if
let's
you're still
I'll
good to go or you
totally
want to end
dinner
it
with the
here. It's
wife.
up to you.
But I'll definitely give you my cell phone
Yeah.
number. My cell phone number is. I'm just kidding.
I was like, wait a minute, bro. Chill out. Do not do that. I had a guy say his address on here. Luckily, nobody
if
really
I got
caught it.
your cell phone number
And I
and
was
then
like,
said it as mine, that'd be even better. But I don't have yours.
hold on. Let me give you my cell phone number. I'll
I'll
get
definitely give my
JJ's.
cell phone number. We'll sync up. We'll figure it out. But yeah, definitely, if you ever need someone to come on here and talk about fitness and basics of shooting and a bunch of stupid stories, you just let me know, and I'm always game. So.
Hell yeah, brother. Hell yeah. Well, I appreciate it, man. I cannot wait to see you destroy everyone this year. And we're definitely gonna have to
I'll
do
have you
some
come out to the
shooting.
barn.
Definitely,
We need to
definitely.
do. 'Cause I bet.
Dude, let me know, bro. So I told you already, I'll come down there and we'll spend a weekend just going hard. You can kill me in the weight room and I'll kill you on the range.
But you're such a
well, yeah, you know what I mean.
I'll text.
Yeah, whatever, bro. I lift heavy
I'll
shit.
text
I
you.
drop
We'll
heavy
figure out.
shit.
We'll have you come
Okay.
out for a weekend. You just come stay here in town and come shoot and hang out. We'll do it this summer for sure.
Yeah, for sure, brother. Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you, brother. You want to say anything more before you leave?
Said it, then it's too late now.
Awesome, brother. Well, I appreciate you, man. Thank you again. Yep, you too, brother.
You gotta kick me out.
I got you. I'll
take
you
myself
out.
in the face. See.
All right, later, brother. All right, Jacob Hepner, everybody. That guy is funny. I can already tell you right now, he's gonna destroy me in the physical portion of tactical games. But I'm gonna fuck his world up on the range. So jokes on him. And I'm getting more fit. Look at me. I'm getting my physique back. I'm not super fat anymore. I got stomach's coming back. It is what it is. But yeah, it should be a lot of fun. But thank you for listening. If you made it this long and you stuck through the whole thing, I'm super duper impressed. If you're listening on any of the podcast platforms or YouTube, thank you so much for making this possible. I appreciate you. And let's see, I will be in Mexico for the next week, so no podcast there. And I get back on Friday, and then I shoot Texas Open on Saturday. So I have someone coming in to stay here to go shoot the Texas Open. I may do an impromptu live on Saturday, a surprise. I may pull in Go Fast, Don't Suck on it. I don't know. We'll figure some stuff out. But I've got some exciting stuff coming up, some exciting guests coming on the podcast. A couple of them are in here tonight. You will never believe that they actually want to come on this podcast. But, hey, I'm not going to look a gift horse in the mouth. So I appreciate you guys. Thank you so much. And I'll